for mental health authority or for the purpose of the mental health is a psychiatrist or medical practitioner who for the time including Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy, Unani, Siddha, Homeopathy establishment by whatever name called is either wholly or partly meant for the care of persons with mental illness, which is established, owned, controlled, or maintained by the appropriate government, maybe local authority, maybe some trust, whether private or public, corporation, cooperative society, organization, or any other entity or person, where persons with mental illnesses are admitted and reside at or kept in for care, treatment, convalescence, and rehabilitation, either temporarily or otherwise, is known as mental health establishment, and that they also include the general hospitals and general nursing home establishments where the care of the mentally ill illness care is being taken care of. So, but this doesn't include a family residential place where a person with mental illness resides with his relatives or friends. So this is the definition of mental health establishment. Now who are the mental health professionals? One is psychiatrist, another is the persons who are have the qualifications laid by the Mental Health Care Act, and they are registered under the state authority, mental health authority, and having the professionals having postgraduate degrees in Manovigyan, in Ayurveda, in homeopathy, in psychiatry, Unani, and Siddha. So these are all mental health professionals. Now, what is, since railway, in context of railway, I presume that this is being controlled by the central government, so we are more focused on the central mental health authority, and the work of central mental health authorities are register all mental health establishments and compile, update and publish these mental health establishments lists, develop quality and service provisions norms for different types of mental health establishments, supervise all mental health establishments and maintain a national register of clinical psychologists, mental health nurses and psychiatric social workers, and the definition of these are laid down in the Mental Health Care Act itself. So, no person or organization shall establish or work on mental health establishment without registration with authority. Authority means if that is being controlled by the central government, then the authority will be Central Mental Health Authority, and if it is in the state, controlled by the state, then it will be the State Mental Health Authority. So what are the requirements for the registration for mental health establishment? They have to fulfill the minimum standards of facilities and services which are specified in the schedule of Central Mental Health Authority Regulations 2020. The minimum qualifications for the personnel engaged in such establishments, and some by the ministerials and subordinate staff, the minimum required qualifications are not laid down in the Mental Health Care Act. In that situation, the recruitment rules applicable to the respective mental health establishment is of which is in the state. Provisions for maintenance of records and reporting and any other condition as may be specified by the regulations made by the authority. Now, there are two kinds of registration. One is the provisional and another is the permanent. So where the provisional registration is required, where the mental health care authority is established or is constituted, but the rules and regulations are not yet published. And in that situation will require the provisional registration, and if Central Mental Health Authority is constituted and rules and regulations are published, then we can have the permanent registration. So, for the provisional registration, mental health establishment has to apply in Form B with details and fee of ₹20,000 to mental health authority. That can be in person, by post, or online. So after receiving this, within 10 days of this, mental health authority will be giving the provisional registration to mental health establishment. And after giving this is mental health authority who has to publish in print in digital online platform regarding this new registered mental health establishment details. The validity of provisional registration is 12 months and it is a renewable. In case we require duplicate certificate of registration, then the fees is around it is 2,000 rupees. So when to reapply for the renewal of the provisional registration is 1 month before the expiry of the previous certification. After that, the fees which is for the registration will be applied. Now for the permanent registration, again the mental health establishment has to apply in a prescribed format and which is specified in the regulations. Mental health establishment has to submit the evidences that the establishment has complied with the specification is being done. So there is a provision of audit of all registered mental health establishments. So to some mental health establishments, there are some grievances regarding authority. Then they can go to High Court within 30 days of the receiving any kind of orders by the mental health authority or rejections. And if they are going beyond or after 30 days and court thinks that the reason they are saying that why they are late are valid, then the High Court may entertain this application. So now the very important aspect that we all are concerned that what are the minimum standards which we require for registration of mental health establishment. And believe me, these are very, very minimum, and every hospital or any establishment, whether it is a mental health or it is a general, even these standards are inclusive in the general also, but in respect of the mental health, we have the few standards, approximately 11 laid by Central Mental Health Regulations. So first one is the premises should have pakka structure, and this must be equipped with the functional windows, doors, strong and intact vertical grills and wire meshes to avoid the attempt for suicide or self-harm. There must be, if it is a multi-story building, then it must have the lift and generator power backup. There must be ventilation and coolers according to the season. So these are the bare minimum I think every hospital has. The living conditions shall be comfortable with separate coats, mattresses, pillows and blankets. Residents must not be made to sleep on the floor, so there must be some bath, hygiene and adequate fans. Hygiene, cleanliness and sanitation shall be maintained by the daily sweeping, swabbing and dusting. Sanitation maintained, including toilets and bathrooms and using disinfectants. Adequate number of toilets and bathrooms both for males and females. Facility for disposal of sanitary napkins. Availability of water in basin, bathrooms and toilets. Periodic fumigation, cleaning and changing the linens, and laundry services and safe disposal of biomedicals. So I think these are again not so much of concerns and easy to have there. Then wholesome, nutritious food and potable drinking water shall be provided in comfortable settings. Again, it is a basic necessity and requirement. The persons who are involved in cooking must go mandatory health checkups periodically. Aprons, masks, headgears must be provided. No long gaps between the meals. Unique dietary requirements will be made by, and the diet chart must be prepared by the dietitian. Special diet based on special nutritional requirements, maybe for elderly, pregnant, lactating, or recently undergone abortions or miscarriages. They may have special needs on the diet. Facilities shall be provided for social, cultural, leisure, recreational activities, includes entertainment programs, and there must be some furnished visitors room. So if anybody or any visitor come to meet the person, then these facilities must be there. Now, again, comes a very important standard 6 is adequate number of health professionals shall be employed to provide proper treatment. So the inpatients seen on regular basis by a mental health professional. So what mental health professional mean? We have already seen in the definition of mental health professional that includes psychiatrists, clinical psychologists, and psychiatric nurses. A medical officer shall be available on call 24 hours to meet the emergencies. For comorbidities, for emergencies, there must be some medical officer. The trained human resources in mental health shall be made available to provide mental health services. Human resources requirement shall be specified by the respective government as per the availability of local resources, and provision must be made for emergency treatment. Ambulances equipped with necessary medical equipment must be kept ready. So medical and paramedical staff shall be engaged in accordance with the specified requirements. There shall be regular visits by qualified medical practitioner in accordance with the norms fixed by the appropriate government for checkup and treatment. Nurses engaged for shift duty, and they must have the norms of Indian Nursing Council. Multi-purpose worker, one for every 10 bed, must be available. Adequate floor space, separate wards for male and female, adequate space between beds, and ward beds and surrounding space not less than 1 meter on all sides. So one bed should have 1 meter space around. Common room where possible, which has television, newspaper, magazines, and indoor games at the chairs, provided is 1:4 ratio. And the OPD inpatient facility shall have the sitting arrangement for patients and accompanying family members, registration, help and test counters, drinking water facilities, and separate toilets for males and females in the OPD premises. Now, equipment and articles shall be procured and used for inpatients in accordance with the requirements in mental health establishment setting, medical equipment and instruments, anesthesia equipment and oxygen for the use of in ECT, equipment and inventory kept in good usable condition, basic equipment such as BP apparatus, stat, weighing machine, thermometer, and other equipments. Sufficient stock of drugs, medical devices, and consumables, first aid box with standard contents. Now, alternate method shall be available, must be in place for rescale to de-escalate crisis situation. So otherwise, circulation or rescales are not advised, but in case if we need, we have to have, then this should be done by the trained person and has to be informed to the review boards. Then the other, the standard 11, which is shall be protection of privacy, dignity, safety, and security of patients, especially of women and their confidentiality, and no discrimination. They must have some freedom to pursue their religious beliefs. physical examination or treatment of female patient done shall be in the presence of a female attendant or female nursing staff or vice versa, if in case of male. Independent brokers provided to patient to keep their personal belongings, necessary procedures to meet fire and non-fire emergencies and safe exits. The resident must be provided with adequate number of clean undergarments and disposable sanitary napkins, and basic hygiene articles such as slippers, towel and tongs, bathing and washing soap on a fortnight basis, and at least 2 shampoo sessions every week. Basic cosmetics, powder, cream, bindis, kumkum, other items should be provided in sufficient quantity, and these are laid in the minimum standards schedule. Now there are certain forms which have been given, and we have to use them for our application or for the record purpose. There are certain, but I am discussing here only few which are very relevant pertaining to the topic. So this is the application for grant of provisional registration or renewal of provisional registration of a mental health establishment. So what actually we require is the name of the applicant, details of the license with reference to the name of authority issuing the license and date, age, professional experience in psychiatry, permanent address, proposed accommodations are number of rooms, number of beds, facilities provided, OPD, emergencies, IPD, occupational and recreational facilities, ECT facilities, psychological testing, investigation and laboratory facilities, treatment facilities.
Sir, please sort the presentation. We have only 2 minutes.
I still it is 10:15 and I was given 5 minutes later, but I was Right. So this is the one format. Second is the certificate of provisional registration, which will be given by the authority, and to give you the provisional certificate, authority doesn't require any visit or any inquiry. They can give it straight away after receiving your application and fees. So the other is the for the purpose of we need to retain certain documents, and this one is for the OPD basis. When you are seeing the patient on the OPD basis at the hospital or in your private clinic or in the camps. So what we need to see the hospital registration number, patient's name, whether there is any advanced directives are there or not, age, sex, father's name, mother's name, chief complaints, provisional diagnosis, treatment advice and follow-up. So this is very basic which we have to retain for the OPD patients. And for inpatient patients, name of the hospital, date, patient's name, father, mother's name, age, sex, address, accompanied by hospital registration, identification mark, nominated representative, advance directive, date of admission, date of discharge, mode of admission, chief complaints, summary, provisional or differential diagnosis, course in the hospital, condition, treatment advice, follow-up recommendations. Then, if you have done any psychological assessment, then that record is also to be kept. Next. So, clinical record number, age, occupation, what assessments are being done, IQ or specific learning disability, any other, brief background information, behavioral observations, tests, and salient scores by the clinical psychologist. Assessed by, verified by, next. Now this is the therapist who has to keep the records. Next. 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 So this is a permanent registration, the application for the permanent registration. So we require to furnish certain details, what services we are providing, what about the staff, their training status, fee status, declaration and confirmation in there. So this is in nutshell that we don't have to worry so much about the minimum standards. We can easily have all of them. Just we need to be careful about when we are hiring the HR personnel. So the personnel with clinical psychology or clinical psychiatric nurses, then we have to refer the qualifications which are laid by the Mental Health Care Act. Thank you.
Very well presented talk on mental health establishment and various forms for getting registered the mental health establishment with the mental health authorities. I have a question from you. It is clear that OPD services will not be registered with the mental health authorities. Okay. But the act does not talk about the general hospital psychiatric unit. General hospital psychiatric unit, at present, the scenario is that we are admitting patients in general medical wards along with the family members.
Sir, according to the Mental Health Care Act, if anywhere, if you are keeping the patient partly or for the care of mental ill patient, that institute has to be registered with authority. Number one, that has to be. And that means the registered mental health establishment is practicing any OPD services, any outreach camps, the OPD details of the patient has to be recorded. That is two things I think we have.
Okay. What is the scenario? The scenario in New Delhi is that most of the government hospitals they are not registered yet with the mental health authorities. Many central government funded hospitals, they are not. What is the condition in Jaipur, in Rajasthan, that I want to know?
There is a provision that central government can exclude by notification certain institutes where mentally ill patients are kept or treated, provided they have registration under some like Clinical Establishment Act, and that institute says that we are complying all your minimum standards, then at that point of time or in that circumstances, central government may exempt them to register under the mental health authorities. That is the provision.
That is the provision, but it has not been notified yet.
Yes.
It will be excluded, which will
So
not be
that,
excluded.
see sir, actually the Mental Health Care Act, I think still in the process of the implementation, and broadly it is now we are focusing first of all to establish the state mental health authorities in states. So most of the states, as per my knowledge up to last year, there were few states which were not having the mental health authority as well. Then we have second step for the notification of rules and regulations. And third is their implementation or the constitution of district mental health review boards. So until and unless we have all the components of the implementation, then these minor things I think we need to tackle or handle later.
I want to know just the status in the state of Rajasthan or
Sir,
Jaipur. Yes.
Sir, as I mentioned that we have constituted the central mental health authorities, and government of Rajasthan has decided to adopt the rules and regulation of the center. And for adoption, we have few changes and we have to take permission from the government of India. And the process of taking permission is in place, I think. And after that, we have to publish the rules and regulations.
Dr. Akhilesh, as far as the question about Delhi goes, Delhi Mental Health Authority has already been established. Now you are duty bound to get yourself registered if you are practicing in Delhi. It is already formed, rules are formed, regulations are formed. So you cannot skip that responsibility. Number one, as far as Mental Health Authority in Delhi is concerned.
Sir, I have a one confusion, and I yet had to clear with the authority whether this railway hospitals are under the control of government of India or central government, or if they are constructed at the state, then it is the under the state.
We are funded by the central government, so we will be registering with the central mental health authority.
Exactly.
We are not nothing to deal with the state mental. That I know, I am aware of that. That at IBHAS, state mental health authority has been formed, and at IBHAS it is functioning. But the and some private establishment has been registered with the state mental health authority. But most of the central government, like Ramman Lohiya, even AIMS or Lady Harding Medical College, they are not registered with the mental health authorities.
I'll tell you why. I said CMHA has also been formed. Okay, CMHA is established. If they have not registered, it is their responsibility, because I am also working in a central government hospital. I am in touch with them as well. If you are admitting patient, you ought to be registered with them. It is your responsibility. Second thing is I want to ask you.
Yeah.
What is asking has admitted some patient in Department of Medicine under disguise of being a physical patient with a physical.
So if you are making a diagnosis of psychiatry, like ICD, and if it is a psychiatric diagnosis and admitted for the purpose of mental health, so we have to go back and see the definition of mental health in patient or state. So in that terms, in my opinion, personal opinion, I am not sure that it should be registered if you are admitting any psychiatric patient.
So now, again, one or two more questions if audience are there not asking to clarify the matters. Suppose some psychiatrist there in railway hospital is admitting a woman, a lady, or a minor in pediatric ward, a lady in gynecology ward, based on certain psychiatric diagnosis. Should it be the criteria? The point is that it has to be notified to the mental health authorities within 72 hours of admission. If the admission is in the medical ward or in the gynae ward or in the pediatric ward, and is it mandatory that we have to inform the mental health authorities on that point? Because women, ladies and minor admission needs notification to the mental health authorities within 72 hours, within 3 days of admission.
Right.
And for males, it has to be notified within 7 days of notification.
Right.
So this thing, how, what is the...
First of all, I think what I understand is the first lateral, that once the patient is admitted in some ward for some other clinical condition and then found it that it may be having some mental issues, and then we referred it to the psychiatrist. Now it is up to the psychiatrist who deals with the on the OPD basis, or that person is required under the care of the psychiatrist. If that person is required the admission under the psychiatrist, then we have to inform.
Suppose we are not informing, and somehow the mental health authorities, they come to know that such type of patients are being kept there in general wards and not being informed to the mental health authorities, then it is highly likely that we will be penalized for that.
Likely. It is all up to the persons who are investigating and how they are saying it. I don't think that they have very clearly mentioned the penalties regarding it.
Yeah. At different contraventions,
Yes.
first contravention, second contravention.
See,
and third.
there are, what I feel is that once we start something new, and there are frictions, there are new experiences, and then we amend the things and we clarify the things as and when it comes up.
Sunil boss, as a cardiologist, there is one query about this legal. I don't understand the authorities and everything. Every alternate patient of our OPD, cardiology OPD, they have some kind of mental illness. Every alternate, it is not exaggerated, and we prescribe them SSRI, TCAs, and everything. So it is legally allowed or not? Number one. Or should we take some kind of permission or for because if we will send them to the psychiatrist, they will not go there.
Sir, I asked you the reverse question that if a person with hypertension comes to my clinic and can I prescribe them losartan or anything else? So I feel that being a MBBS graduate and being in a clinical practice, I can basic medicine I can prescribe, and the same is applicable to the all physicians who are working in the field. They can prescribe if they understand that this is the anxiety issues or this is the depressive features, and they know that the diagnosis is there and the recommended medicine and doses are these, and they can prescribe, and I think there is no need to take any permission.
ये हमारा रिटायर्ड पीसीएमडी है, मेरे पीसीएमडी के चेहरा
I am Dr. Bhushanam, retired CME from South East. The talk is about Mental Health Care Act 2017. So I have come with the assumption that you will summarize the provisions of the act. But the talk is restricted only to mental health care establishments. So,
Yes, sir.
it is somewhat disappointing.
Yes, sir, you are right, something else, because mental capacity, not,
Yeah.
The
No,
act,
let me clarify
the
this.
act is a very
Because I got your point, sir. Mental Health Care Act is having a huge and like 125, more than 125 sections and then rules and then regulations. So I asked the organizers that what should be I present. Then the organizers asked me to focus on the minimum standards which we require and how to be registered and what as a mental health establishment our role is. So it was on the part of the mental health establishment rather than onto the authority or the rules. So that was the task given to me, and I think because of that certain things like admissions, procedural admissions, role of district mental health review boards, and roles of the other authorities like police and the judiciary. So that has been not touched because of the time constraint. 30 minutes is very less time to speak on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. This was the most interactive session so far. I request our chairpersons to present a memento to Dr. Sunil Sharma, sir. After that, I invite Dr. R.P. Chaudhary, sir, to present a memento to our chairperson. Dr. R.P. Chaudhary, sir, is ACHD, Central Hospital, Jaipur. Our next talk is about heart disease and mental health disorder. And the chairperson for the session are Dr. S.R. Gundar, sir. Dr. S.R. Gundar, sir, is ACMS Jaipur Division, Northwestern Division. Dr. Akhilesh Jain, sir, he is HOD, Department of Psychiatry, PSI Hospital, Jaipur. Dr. Rajesh Sharma, sir, and Dr. Pankaj Mittal, sir. Dr. Pankaj Mittal is HOD, Department of Psychiatry, SDMH. I think he is not present. Fine. We will start with the session. Sir, please invite our next speaker, Dr. Pushpesh Garg.
Welcome, Dr. Pushpendra. And before we begin with your events, I would like to set up the context of your lecture today. Just a couple of minutes back, Dr. Pushpendra himself has expressed his concern about the psychiatric component in cardiac patients. I mean, as he said, that there's a lot of number of patients who would have anxiety, depression, or other kind of psychiatric elements which they tend to come across in their clinical practice. And I believe and I hope that you are going to focus not only on that aspect, but you're also going to focus that, while you prescribe the antipsychotic medications to those patients who are actually, having cardiac ailment, what kind of precautions we need to have, because there are, a lot of things which can happen to the patient who are already suffering from the physical ailment. So I hope you would be focusing on that aspect as well, that what kind of care we ought to have while treating those patients. And I hope our audience will be benefited with your lecture. You will proceed with that, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you all. बेगानी शादी में अब्दुल्ला दी सो एक साइकेट्रिक कॉन्फ्रेंस में कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट का क्या काम है, लेकिन एक बात सबसे जरूरी समझने की है कि सब कुछ दिल से चलता है और दिल दिमाग से चलता है. सो देयर इज अ हेड एंड हार्ट कनेक्शन एंड आई थिंक ये दोनों ब्रांचेस साथ साथ चलती हैं. जब हम लोग पीजीआई से इंटरनल मेडिसिन से एमडी कर रहे थे तो हम लोगों को 3 महीने डेडिकेटेड साइकेट्री ट्रेनिंग दिलाई गई थी हमारे टीचर्स के द्वारा. उस समय लगता था कि हमारा क्या मतलब है साइकेट्री से, बट आज हमारे टीचर्स का वो जो करिकुलम हमारे ट्रेनिंग में बनाया था वो एज ए कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट और एज ए इंटर्निस्ट मैं प्रैक्टिस में महसूस करता हूँ कि दोनों ब्रांचेस एक दूसरे के बिना नहीं चल सकती. सो थैंक यू टू इनवाइट मी एंड I will present heart disease, and mental disorders, the head and heart condition. So, coming to my presentation, there is a higher prevalence of modifiable cardiovascular risk behaviors and condition, and twice the cardiovascular mortality in rate than the general population in mental illness patient. There is emerging evidence that severe mental illness and cardiovascular diseases share several behavioral, biological, and genetic mechanisms, and there is a need for targeted intervention to improve cardiovascular health in a patient with severe mental illness. So, I will discuss the relationship between mental illness and cardiovascular disease. We will discuss the strategies to improve cardiovascular health in patients with severe mental illness. I will discuss psychopharmacological and the cardiovascular disease relation. There is clear discrepancies in people with the severe mental illness and how we can improve in context to cardiovascular disease. And then there are some proposed future directions for investigation and management of such patient in context to cardiovascular. So, what mental health disorders are related to heart disease? The mood disorders, anxiety disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic stress disorder, they all are related to the cardiovascular disease. And there may be other behavioral health related disorders such as substance use disorders, they are also connected to heart disease. So, what group of patient or mental illness patient have a higher rate of heart disease from the mental health? There are certain groups like severe mental illness, including schizophrenia, severe depression, bipolar disorder. They have at least 2 to 3-fold time death rates, mortality rates, cardiovascular morbidity in contrast to general population. Old age patient, women, couples with post-traumatic stress disorder, and some racial ethnic minorities worldwide also have the predisposition for heart disease in case of mental disorder. Now, I come to the connection between the mental health disorder and heart disease. So, mental health is associated with the risk factors for heart disease, very well known. Even somebody can develop heart disease before the diagnosis of mental health disorder by a psychiatrist. So, there is some kind of genetic, some kind of physiological relationship even before the mental health disorder diagnosis. And these effects can arise both directly through the biological pathways or indirectly through the behavioral pathways or risky health behavior like smoking or like obesity, metabolic syndrome, and other kind of thing. And if there is impact not only of the disorder, there is impact of medicine used to treat these disorder, particularly mental health disorder. They can also precipitate cardiometabolic risk factors in a mental health patient. So the use of some antipsychotic medicines has been associated with obesity, insulin resistance, diabetes, heart attack, atrial fibrillation, stroke, and death. And new drugs causing the QTC prolongation. These kind of arrhythmias can be precipitated by some kind of psychological, psychotropic drugs. So this is one very common slide and very important slide. That cardiovascular disorder and severe man, there is greater impact over the shared equality. So we see that anxiety, depression, chronic stress, and post-traumatic stress disorder. What it causes? Possible there is pathological pathway, which is activation of sympathetic pathway, which leads to tachycardia, which leads to fear, which leads to increased cardiac reactivity, and ultimately increases the blood pressure and cardiovascular events in form of stroke, heart failure, cardiovascular diseases, metabolic diseases, coronary calcification, and ultimately heart attack. And after that, these all cardiovascular diseases causes further increase in anxiety, depression, and psychiatric disorder. Or this is a pathway, they further increase in the chances of cardiac disease. So both disease, both psychiatric and both cardiac diseases, they go together. And when we see the cardiovascular factor in patient with severe mental illness versus general population, we found that at least double in the risk factor in form of smoking, in form of hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia, metabolic syndrome, obesity, obstructive sleep apnea, in all of such mental illnesses there in general population. So these are the predominant most important risk factor for heart diseases, and when the risk is double, the chances of disease developing cardiovascular disease is triple or four times in patient with mental illness patient. So one can understand how much important is the management of these risk factors in a mental illness patient. For a psychiatrist, the treatment is not only the psychiatric treatment. The treatment is to prevent the complication, cardiovascular complication. Because majority of deaths in patients with the mental illness is because of the cardiovascular events, not because of suicide. So how can we strategize to improve the cardiovascular health in patients with severe mental illness? This is one. So this slide is showing that everything is interrelated. If you have severe mental illness, you have some input factors in form of biological factors, behavioral factor, pharmacological factor, psychological factors, genetic factor, and comorbid illness factor. When you have a severe mental illness, these are all the patient with the severe mental illness have all kind of risk factor for developing of cardiovascular disease or cardiovascular behavior. And the cardiovascular disease ultimately develop, and when the cardiovascular disease develop, the schizophrenia, major depression or bipolar depression, they precipitate it. There is higher chances of development of the mental illness in the cardiovascular patient. And the patient with the schizophrenia, bipolar depression, major depression, they have high prevalence of the hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia, metabolic syndrome, smoking, everything. So there is we have opportunities to intervention at the biological level, behavioral level, pharmacological level, and psychological level. And overall, this is their care and access to their care. Because the patient those have major mental illness or psychological disorder, they have poor access to care. They are either sociologically deprived, financially deprived, or they are given less attention by the cardiologist. So basically, we need a whole care which managed by the society, managed by the healthcare system, by the cardiologist, family, and peer groups also. So we have for intervention in such patients, there are 3 levels. One is at patient level, another is at health professional level, like a cardiologist or psychologist, and healthcare system. So at patient level, our barriers are lifestyle behaviors in form of some habits, drug abuse, and risk conditions, metabolic syndrome, psychopharmaceutical therapies, which also precipitate to the risk factors. There is low adherence to treatment, there is low health-related literacy, there is socio-economic poverty, and social isolation and poor self-care. So these are the barriers in treatment of such patients. And how we can manage them? By increase the mental education about the mental illness and heart disease, by behavioral counseling, by peer support, by family support, and by lifestyle intervention. Now I come to the how healthcare specialists, professionals can work in the management of such patients. Here our barriers are limited mental health literacy. Means majority of us has not been provided the opportunities to treat the patient of like psychiatrist does not have exposure to cardiovascular patients, and cardiologist does not have exposure to the psychiatric patient.
Dr. Kushner, maybe go bit fast because the time is.
Sir, only 2 slides, 2 slides. So, increase the curriculum of the disease inside the training of both the specialists, psychiatric specialist and cardiology specialist, and there should be routine modifiable CV risk factor screening in such patients, and one should involve the patient with the severe mitral illness, with their families, minimal adverse event of the psychotropic medicines. That can be the part one can, and the healthcare system I will not discuss here. Then come to the psychopharmacology and cardiovascular diseases. So everybody, cardiologists and psychiatrists, should be informed about the side effect or interactions of the drug between. Like when you give fluoxetine, the blood thinning capacity of warfarin increases. So one should monitor the antiplatelet effect or INR during the treatment when somebody is receiving the fluoxetine. When you give the carbamazepine warfarin, similar happen with the acetylopram, fluoxetine, and other drugs. The effect of beta blockers increases simultaneously. So most of the psychiatrists, they give multiple drugs. One is beta blocker most of the time. So they should care that sometimes the heart rate decreases significantly. That can cause death also. So regular monitoring of heart rate, regular ECGs, and at least the dose adjustment accordingly. And other drugs like alprazolam, which is very commonly used by the psychiatrist, and amiodarone, which is very commonly used with the cardiologist. That there is big interaction, and that this amiodarone, which is an anti-arrhythmic drug, can precipitate arrhythmia with the alprazolam. So all psychiatrists, all cardiologists should aware the common drugs which is used and their interactions also. Similarly, some cardiological drugs cause the neuropsychiatric effect also. So that drug should be withdrawn. Otherwise, the effect of the therapy of psychiatrist will not come. So alpha-adrenergic like calcium, beta blockers like atenolol, propranolol, calcium channel blockers, adrenergic blockers, anti-arrhythmic drugs, nicotine, and vasodilators. So they all have some kind of neuropsychiatric effect, and we should be aware, and we should titrate our dosage accordingly. Okay, so cardiovascular and metabolic effect of the psychotropic drugs. Cardiac safety and tolerability is vary among the psychotropic medications. Tricyclic antidepressants are most notorious. They causes orthostatic hypotension, they causes the tachycardia, they reduces the heart rate variability, they reduces the arrhythmia, they causes the arrhythmia in form of AF and ventricular arrhythmia, which is very dangerous. So TDA should empirically be avoided in ischemic heart disease. If somebody is heart disease, TCA should be avoided. And the another is what we can prefer. As a cardiologist, SSRI should be preferred because of the minimal cardiovascular side effects. Similarly, in schizophrenic and bipolar disorder drugs, clonazepam and olanzapine, they predispose for the obesity, metabolic syndrome, hypertension, insulin resistance, hypertriglyceridemia, and QTP, which is commonly used as a to sleep, and also intermediate risk drug for a cardiological patient, and other drug alprazolam.
Can you conclude now?
Yes, sir. Another is cardiopsychiatry. So I think it is a very well internationally known kind of one principle now that there should be a separate branch, cardiopsychiatry, and that should care such patient. And but still we have a somato-psychiatric divide. So cardiologist says this is somatic disorder, and psychiatrist says this is psychiatric disorder. So I think we need a particular kind of branch which includes both cardiologists, psychiatrists, pharmacologists also to treat such patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bostel, for time restricted, the wonderful deliberation and giving us an opportunity to proliferate psychiatry in different branches to be taken by the policymakers. And you have wonderfully elaborated the causes, how to deal with the issues, what happens with the cardiac patients and the psychiatric illnesses. I open the platform for one or two questions. We are running short of time, please. Be restricted to specific issues.
Well presented talk. I have nothing to comment, but just to add something. The patients of mental and behavioral disorders, according to WHO, they die 10 years younger than the general population. Most probably because of the cardiovascular morbidities. Second thing is that we psychiatrists are not getting the ECGs of the patients, mental patients to whom we are prescribing drugs regularly done. Because many drugs, they lead to QTC prolongation, and QTC prolongation leads to life-threatening cardiac tachyarrhythmias and ventricular arrhythmias, and there will be sudden death also. So whenever we prescribe some certain psychotropics like haloperidol or say olanzapine, we have to monitor. If we go towards the higher dose, we have to monitor the ECGs of the patient. Nowadays, the various automatic ECG machines which give automatic data about the automatic so then see the QTC interval. If it is more than 450 milliseconds, we have to be cautious and we have to consult a cardiologist if we need a higher dose. Lithium may also cause SNO depression. If the patient has once got the SNO depression due to lithium, it has to be stopped and it cannot be prescribed. Third thing is that the schizophrenics, they smoke too much, and the smoking, quitting smoking in those patients are very difficult. So they are also because of smoking. They are also very prone to get cardiovascular morbidities. Fourth thing is that we have to do the HbA1c as well as lipid profile on yearly basis in every psychiatric, especially having severe psychiatric morbidities like schizophrenia or bipolar, so that we can know the metabolic status of the patient. Very common cause of syndrome X or metabolic syndrome are the psychotropics, especially the second generation antipsychotics like olanzapine, notorious for that.
Thank you so much for your inputs. Okay. We do not want comment. We want any specific question if you have, please.
So
Sir, good morning, sir. Sir, I just wanted to ask you, recently we have seen a lot of sudden deaths, particularly at jail. So I wanted to ask two questions. First, what may be the probable cause of such kind of sudden deaths we are observing? And second, is it related with the mental health pandemic which is happening after the COVID? Thank you, sir.
Very nice question. Yesterday evening also we were discussing the same question. So exact etiology is not known. There are two or three things. One is definitely this ongoing pandemic is responsible for some of the cases of this because the adhesion of this particular virus mimics the platelet aggregation molecule. So it misguided the platelets and they aggregates and they cause the clots. Some role of disease also or some role of the particular vaccine also in this particular matter. Second thing is the exercises which we do in gym. They are isometric exercises like weight bearing and this. These exercises are very much harmful for the patient or for heart. So we should avoid the isometric exercises. The preferable exercises, the isotonic exercises like running, jogging, walking, swimming or cycling. They are the best exercises for the heart. Third thing is the majority of the people, those goes to gym, they have health conscious, but they have self-reliance or self-overconfidence also. So they go stage no. So their endothelium of the heart, their blood and endothelium is deep. So when they do the isometric exercises, there is suddenly rupture of the endothelium and which causes a clot. And third thing is the presence of HOCM in such patient, hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, which is a genetic disease and which sometimes causes the sudden ventricular tachycardia in such patient. So the sudden death in gym is multifactorial. Exact cause is not known, but definitely there is a role of this ongoing pandemic in the heart disease, heart attacks, and at least in young patients, we are getting at least hundreds of heart attacks per month of young patients of age of 20 years, 25 years, or 30 years. So it is multifactorial.
Thank you, Dr. Pushpendra. We may have left many questions that can be asked later on. I would request her to please continue this session.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर सुपेंद्र कुमार अध्यक्ष। जैसे कि आपने हार्ट डिजीज और मेंटल डिजीज का कोरिलेशन बताया और इसका एक दूसरे से बहुत से रिलेशन है। कार्डियक डिजीज जिसको है उसको मेंटल डिजीज हो सकती है, मेंटल डिजीज जिसको कार्डियक प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है। तो ये सेशन बहुत ही अच्छा रहा और सबके लिए बेनिफिशियल। थैंक यू।
Thank you very much, sir, for this very nice explored yet interesting topic. Now I request our chairperson to present a memento to our speaker, Dr. Pushpendra Garg, sir. After that, I request Dr. Lakshmi ma'am to present a memento to our chairpersons. Dr. Lakshmi ma'am is PSYCHIATRIST, Northwestern Railway, Jaipur. She is presenting memento to Dr. Akhilesh Jain sir, who is Director, Department of Psychiatry at PSYCHIATRIST Hospital, Jaipur. Ma'am is presenting memento to Dr. S.R. Gundla sir, who is ACMS, Northwestern Railway, Jaipur. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. For the next session, I hand over the mic to my co-convener, Dr. Ms. Saji Varghese.
A very warm good morning to all the dignitaries and delegates present here. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all of you. Now we advance towards the last session of this conference. The first stop of the session is Forensic Psychiatry from Theory to Clinical Practice. Let's listen and learn by Dr. Shailendra Kumar. For this, I will request our chairpersons, Dr. G.R. Meena, retired PCMD and Northwestern Railway, Jaipur, Dr. A. Vasudevan, CMS, Jodhpur, Dr. Ram S. Matoria, Senior DMO, Northwestern Railway, Jaipur. So please take your seat on the dais. Dr. G.R. Meena, Dr. A. Vasudevan, and Dr. Ram S. Matoria. I request the chairpersons to kindly introduce our speaker.
Dr. Sanjay Kumar. He is Assistant Professor at SU Medical College, Bikaner. Assistant Academic Officer, Department of Forensic Medicine, SP Medical College, Bikaner, Rajasthan. He has in his credits 12 original research papers in various national and international journals, contributed 3 chapters in book of forensic medicine, authored by Dr. P.N. Mathur. Affiliation: Life Member of Indian Academic Forensic Medicine, Life Member of Punjab Academic of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology, trained in basic course in biomedical research as per NMC, and trained in a revised basic course workshop as per NMC. Resource faculty of the SC Medical College, Bikaner for RBCW training program, member of the Medical Education Unit of SP Medical College, Bikaner.
Thank you, G.R. Meena, for giving the introduction of speaker. One thing I want to add in this his CV, he has also good reputation in the judicial circle, and due to his in-depth knowledge in forensic medicine as well as in the forensic psychiatry. So we are lucky to have a speaker, Dr. Shailendra Kumar. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, to introduce me to audience. Good morning to all. Forensic psychiatry is such is a very large subject. On request of organizers, I cover some civil as well as criminal responsibilities and some important points of documentation, especially the document that is medical certificate issued by the various capacities by the psychiatrist, and the issue the certificate or medical certificate is in routine is the practice, but it is the legal as well as moral or duty towards the state of each psychiatrist or even each registered medical practitioner that the certificate which is issued by him or her or signed by him or her should be or have to be testified in courts of law when the doctors are summoned by the concerned court for the deposition of the evidence. So it's all of you know, psychiatry, it deals with the study, diagnosis and treatment of mental illness. But in the forensic psychiatry, especially in civil as well as in criminal cases, the knowledge of the psychiatry for the administration of justice. It may be the knowledge of the paramedical sciences, it may be the knowledge of the basic sciences or the clinical aspect of the psychiatry, or even the diagnostic or psychological assessment which is conducted by the concerned doctor before issuing the certificate. Then unsoundness of mind is frequently used by the courts of law or by the opposite lawyer when some certificate issued by the psychiatrist for the mental illness. Then we see sometimes in court that the document is proper, the certification is proper, but due to the tricky question of the opposite lawyer, we cannot, or some doctors cannot deposit their proper evidence, and when the trial going on and the time is there for the judgment, then the weak points of that evidence of the doctor are picked up by the opposite lawyer, and references are made, and sometimes the results are opposite than they are expected. So psychiatrists are increasingly requested to provide a certificate or report in connection with the administration, that is legal proceedings or few welfare measures. I concerned here for the legal proceedings. The role of the psychiatrist in providing medical legal opinion on the patient's behalf can be as important as diagnostic and treatment part of their practice. A medical certificate or such medical certificate issued by the psychiatrist or by the any medical practitioner stating the result of a satisfactory medical examination by spotting either investigations or psychological assessments strongly. Occasionally, such certificates may be demanded in a court of law in relation to civil and criminal matters. Age specified that who and what can be certified by the practitioners. Age was specified in the MCI code, now NMC codes. Medical ethics, the registered practitioner are in certain cases bound by the law to give certificates signed by them in their professional capacity for subsequent use in the courts of the law. And as per NMC or MCI has granted the medical practitioner a right to issue certificates in mental health care. The psychiatrist in the government and private sector or medical officers can issue such type of certificates. Then what are the various challenges we face when such certificates are demanded either by some relatives or persons or some agencies or by some investigating officers or by the court? One letter asked by one parent without the knowledge of the other parent, it is one challenge. That there may be dispute in the diagnosis, may be dispute some disease, or one parent can conceal some matter from the other. Patients requested to conceal or change particulars such as name and age or the diagnosis and treatment. Third one is the patient's family coming for follow-up visit without patient and asking for a letter. Adults other than parents, family members, uncle, aunt, coming and requesting letters. Some people may go up to the extent of falsely representing themselves as the patient's family member. So, identity of the subject who sought to be examined either on the request of relatives or investigating agency should be confirmed by the certificate issuing doctor. Letter asked by the patient's family without the knowledge of the patient. Insanity may be framed by criminal towards sentence of death or long-term imprisonment. For this point, that is malingering or false insanity or feigned insanity, you know in detail because you are the specialist of that subject. It should be differentiated properly by proper admission of the patient and by proper observation on a different time of a different day. Prerequisites. One prerequisite field visit is when the patient relative approaches for a certificate, the reason for the same need to be ascertained. You always see when someone has some intention that I can obtain a certificate by hurry my work and by show my busyness towards the medical officer or the doctor, you be alert where hurriness is there or person's relative or any even police officers or any investigating agency. जब वो जल्दी करते हैं आप अलर्ट हो जाइए, क्योंकि वो ये चाहते हैं कि जैसा जैसा वो ट्रीट कर रहे हैं वैसा वैसा सर्टिफिकेट उनको मिल जाए. So one is you ascertain the need of that particular certificate. In case of certificate is required for legal purposes, maybe the police investigation under CRPC 174, or maybe it may be the magistrate inquest under CRPC 176. So especially in cases of detectives, police arrest them and then brought to hospital. Our concern from those people are some injuries are there. So when a psychiatrist examine these patients, parallelly we examine for the injury purposes. So the investigating agencies can brought to the patient to the psychiatrist for is demanding the certificate. Use the correct international classification of diseases 10 or 11, mental and behavioral disorder, diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorder, labels for diagnosis, mention all the objective diagnostic and psychological assessments administered to the spot of the diagnosis. Always, that is very important, always keep in mind for proper documentation of such cases and safe record keeping in confidential manner for future purposes. It is very important, and in last slides we discussed that what is the duration of keeping such documents in your institute. Now these are the civil responsibilities of the insane. I just enumerate: management of property, contract, marriage and divorce, adoption, competency as a witness, validity of consent, testamentary capacity, then fitness for a job, organ donation, transplantation, surrogacy, disability, medical needs and income tax exemptions. These all are a big list, and you are aware about this, that in these civil matters the certificate is produced by the psychiatrist. These are the criminal responsibilities. One is Mac-Norton rule, and it is followed in the Western countries, and it is found in 1843. Small stories there, I tell later on. Then Section 84 of Indian Penal Code in Indian scenario, various rules are there: Durham's rule, Curran's rule, the Irresistible Impulse Act, the American Law Institute Act. The last one, doctrine of diminished responsibility. It is important for psychiatrists that this term is used when the criminal is responsible for his or her act, which is done by him or her. But there is some diseases in which these responsibilities are reduced. So he is not total free from the responsibility, but responsibility is reduced. How we certify the criminal responsibility of insane? That the law presumes that every person is sane and responsible for his actions. It is the duty of defense had to prove that accused is mentally ill at the time of the committing crime, that is per section 105 of Indian Evidence Act. The law also presumes that for every criminal act there must be criminal intent or mind, that is man's mind, the crime or which motivate him or her. A mentally ill person is not punished for his crime as he devoid of free will, intelligence and knowledge of the act. in our textbooks and in our some research papers, it is mentioned clearly that these three things, that is will, intelligence and knowledge, if these three things are absent and if they are concluded in the insanity certificate, then a person accused, suspected accused, can be free from his responsibilities. All the mental disorders do not free a person from criminal responsibility for his acts if the disorder impairs the cognitive faculties only. That is, accused does not know the faculty of understanding the nature of his act and its consequences. He is not held responsible. Here we see that the three things. One is perception, thinking and remembering. If these three things are absent at the time of crime or at the time of trial subsequently, then the person is not responsible for his act. So insanity defense and fitness to stand trial are two important circumstances where insanity certificates are required by the courts. It is explained by McNaughton rule for Western countries and section 84 in Indian scenario. McNaughton rule says an accused person is not legally responsible if it is clearly proved that at the time of committing the crime he was suffering from such a defect of reason, from abnormality in mind, that he did not know the nature and quality of the act he was doing or that what he was doing was wrong. McNaughton rule is also known as the right or wrong test. It is also known as the legal test. One story is there that in 1843, one Scottish person, Daniel McNaughton, age was 29 years, and he had some disorder. Later on, diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And at that day, on the 20th January 1843, when he committed a crime, the board, medical board, 10 members were there, 9 from the defense counsel and 1 defense side and 1 for the prosecution, and they conclude that the person at the time of crime, because the patient was suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, and at that time he was under delusion of persecution. And at that time, the ruling party in England, the Prime Minister, Sir Peel, Robert Peel, he wanted to kill him due to some that his party is making some conspiracy against him. And at that time, when the Prime Minister coming out from his house, he shot the personal secretary Edward Dumont in place of that Prime Minister, and finally the McNaughton was not found guilty for his act, and he was sent, not convicted, and sent for life in psychiatric hospital. In Indian scenario, it is explained by the section 84. The conclusion is same. Now, how we certify the insanity? Psychiatrists should conduct mental health evaluation of subject in question carefully, and in such cases, certificate must conclude about subject's mental condition clearly. In a typical case of insanity, the diagnosis is easy, but in early stages, especially when he has no permanent delusion, and in borderline cases, the correct diagnosis becomes difficult. The objective of the clinical examination is to form an opinion about the patient's mind and the degree of the responsibilities. These all are the some steps each medical officer should go through these steps prior to issue the certificate or preliminaries. Write in detail the name, because documentation is important, age, sex, marks of identification, proper address, time of the beginning of the examination, and end of each examination should be recorded. Write down the name of the person who brought to you. If it is related to some police person, then write his rank, name, police station, date and time. All things should be write in detail. Then family history, inquire into the mental condition of the patient's parents and siblings, and where of them suffered from frank mental illness. Personal history related to mental illness, you know all detail about it. And then psychological factors, organic disease, drug dependence, especially drug dependence, then domestic difficulties, emotional shock, frustration, etc. Then detailed physical examination and systemic examination, and then the mental condition. In our textbooks, it is described in 14 points like general appearance, talk, speech, writing, behavior, mood, memory, sleep, walking and gait, attitude and posture, sex behavior, attention, thought process, thought content, etc. You always ask these points from the patient or the subject who brought to you for the examination for the purpose of the issue the certificate that motive. In case of if person is suffering from mental illness or if person is have some mental illness, there is no motive. Preparation, no preparation or no pre-planning is there. Accomplice is not present. Nature of crime may kill several persons. My sir told me that in 80s, in Bikaner, on the day of Shivratri, cannabis is used commonly, and one person who was under the influence of cannabis and killed 3 persons of both communities. So, may kill several persons, not related one community or not related one religion. So it is important, conducted the time of crime, not try to destroy the evidence. Evidence remains intact and conduct after the time of crime may even notify police about the crime. Sometimes it may happen. Then other investigations like additional evidence can be collected from pathological examination of blood, urine and CSF and X-ray and electroencephalographic recordings. Observation is important prior to issuing the certificate. The person should be kept under observation in a general hospital or nursing home or any other suitable place as per requirement or as per recommendations. The person should be watched during different times of the day when he is alone in company and while he is working, eating, reading or writing and when he is unaware of the fact of being observed. For observation of an innocent person in a hospital, admission will not exceed more than 10 days. And if it is required more examinations, then it can be, as per our books, it can be permitted or exceed up to 30 days for more examinations. To give certificate of insanity or for declaration of a person to insane, history examination on different days and different hours are usually recommended. When the possibility of more examinations, because the person may behave peculiarly at the single examination either due to the effect of drugs or due to the delirium caused by the fever or any substance abuse, the certificate should contain a clinical description of the patient and indicate the reasons for the diagnosis of the specified disorder. How we give the opinion? The opinion should contain these 3 things: that the presence or absence of the psychiatric illness, one component of our opinion. Second, the defendant's mental status at the time of alleged offense retrospectively. That is more important to decide the responsibility of the crime towards that person. Assessment of fitness to stand trial in cases, defendant's present mental status and his competency during the trial. For third thing, because at the time in between the trial and the crime, there is the time gap, a big time gap can be there. So second examination should be advised for that. As opinion, as the time is increased, the risks of error is increased in these cases. Present mental status opinion has lowest risk and more reliability. Recent past mental states have risk factor greater than the present mental status and it is greatest in the future mental status. These are some mental conditions, some mental illnesses which are mentioned in our textbook. If these are diagnosed and concluded by the medical board of psychiatrists, then the person becomes free from his criminal responsibility, delirium, delusion, somnambulism, somnolentia, post-traumatic automatism, twilight states and unerotic states, drugs or delirium tremens. Drunkenness, voluntary drunkenness is responsible for his crime, but if it is involuntary or caused by someone, it is not responsible for under section 85 IPC. Then lucid interval and psychopaths, they are responsible, and impulsive behavior, they are responsible, but if unsoundness mind is proved, then not criminally responsible. So my conclusion is medical certificates is a legal document, and the mental status of responsibility at the time of the alleged offense had to be determined to help the court, to help the investigating agencies to conclude or make a decision for that particular person. Certificates that are issued by psychiatrists are increasingly being used as evidence in the court of law. Psychiatrists have several ethical, moral, and legal obligations in the performance of these duties, and it is very important that every psychiatrist should understand the nature of these obligations to the best of their abilities and determine exactly the mental status of the person. Examine and issue certificates for not more than 15 days. See patients when it issue and daily practices. Do not give fitness on advanced date or late date. The signature or left thumb impression of the patient should be taken on the bottom or top of the certificate to prove the identity, or even you best a photograph, recent photograph of the person, because identification, first of all, identification is important to prove the case. The two identification marks should be noted. Issuing or signing a false certificate is punishable under section 197 IPC, and there is provision that there is temporary removal of the name of medical practitioner from the state medical register, and on subsequent offences it can be permanent. The duplicate of the certificate should be retained minimum up to 10 years or till trial is continued in court in medical legal cases, that is the duration as per state government. Express an opinion on based of the various guidelines from your own knowledge and experience, and say, in my opinion. Do not use the phrases like I think, I imagine, it appears to be, it seems to be. These are not conclusive. Always start deposits of evidence by taking proper oath. When you appear in court, you take proper oath, be cool, calm, and think the answer the question of defense lawyer. Try to understand the question and then give the answer. Always be the truth and remain honest with our profession. Whenever we are issuing medical certificates for medical legal purpose and during deposition of evidence in courts of law, these are my references. Thank you for your listening.
Thanks, Dr. Kumar, for your nice presentation. And forensic certificate definitely is new for us, and it is very difficult to understand about the forensic certificate. But organizing committee has decided to include this topic. What was the objective behind this topic? Basically, is the in background of the newly enacted rules and regulations like Mental Health Care Act 2017 and Disability Act 2016, and recently formulated new guidelines for Indian Railway Medical Manuals book, then we all as a psychiatrist and administrator should be sensitized, should be aware about the aspect of forensic certificate when we are deciding the fitness of the employees or candidates, and we are issuing the disability certificates, because day by day these things may be present in the court, and we have to again to stand in law of the court to give the evidence or to prove ourselves. So we have to take in the mind the forensic certificate is a very important subject, and documentation, observation, as well as the follow all types of the guidelines, acts, whether it's railways, whether government of India, whether state rules, all are compulsory and mandatory. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So this is important to the POCSO Act, that once a patient, a minor girl come for a psychiatric issues, say for anxiety or something, and after evaluating we found that there is some some sexual harassment or something, abusement or are underlying. And the family members also know that, but they don't reveal us. But somehow we have the doubt that this is being an issue. And the family members don't want to go to the police. So what is our liability?
As per the MCI or NMC, the liability of a registered medical practitioner is if you found these things, you have to convince the parents that they inform the police. If the injuries are more or assault is there, proper assault is there, then you have to inform the police.
So no proper, that is only the doubt of them.
If doubt is there, then we can not do nothing. But if it is suggestive, any redness is there, any injury is there, any injury on other parts like chest and
Don't go for physical examination. Generally, we don't go for the physical examination, and it is the background.
you may hear that post mental status, है ना? तो उसके लिए यदि ऐसा आपको लगता है, you suggest them and it is more
Or
you can
we have to suggest to the parents, or we have a direct liability to inform the police. That is my question.
exact liability to inform the police is more important for your safety, because under CRPC 39 of criminal procedure, the every Indian citizen have a moral duty that when he sees some crime or appreciates some crime, he should inform to the SHO or concerned police station or nearby magistrate or tahsildar or even sarpanch, that is their autonomous bodies. It is moral duty.
Sir, one question. Many women are working nowadays in various government sectors. At times, because I face that, ladies have been sent to me for assessing the level of whether there is sexual assault or not, or say indecent assault, or some psychosexual comments has been done to her or not. So how to proceed in that way? Because many times we do not find any other than patients' own version. We do not find any abnormality in that women worker.
So you are psychiatrist?
Yes, yes, sir.
Then your point is your duty is only you assess the psychological assessment,
Yes, sir.
and advise some treatment.
Yes, sir.
And you refer the case to the gynecologist or medical jurist for the other formality.
There is no physical as such. There is no physical abnormality as such. She also denies any physical.
Then for psychological point of view or psychiatric point of view, you mention NAD and then refer there.
So what is written in that Violence Act workplace related to ladies is that if the psychiatrist, there is one para there, if the psychiatrist think that some psychosexual violence has been done with that lady, then he can endorse that. So what is that thing then? What I will think?
If it is there as per that guideline, you said,
Yes,
then
sir.
you mention it. Otherwise, if doubt is there, then you must mention it towards the positive side for the well-being of the patient and refer that case to the medical jurist or the lady doctor.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your knowledge and rich speech. Now I would request the chairpersons to kindly present the memento and certificate to our speaker. I would request our respected PCMD sir, Dr. P.K. Samantraya, to kindly come up on the stage and honor our chairpersons with the memento and certificate.
रहा है? अरे रुको सब। मैं जेंट्स को ये
PCMDs are honoring our Vasudevan sir with the memento and certificate. PCMDs are honoring Dr. G.R. Meena sir with the memento and certificate.
मैं बहुत खुश हूँ कि हमारा माटुरिया साहब ऐसे बढ़िया बढ़िया लेक्चर ऑर्गेनाइज किया कि हमारा DGRHS साहब बोले ये तो इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड का है। जय हो माटुरिया और जय हो हमारा मेडिकल डायरेक्टर जो कि साइलेंटली सब काम का पीछे है। अरे बस खड़े होकर अपना मुंह दिखा दे।
Thank you, sir. Now we proceed towards the second talk of the session. It will be my pleasure to invite the chairpersons, Dr. Abhishek sir, ACST CS Chairperson, Dr. Shailendra Kumar sir, Associate Professor, Department of Forensic, ST Medical College, Bikaner, Dr. Pradeep Duri sir, Senior DMO, Central Hospital, Jaipur, Dr. Sunil Sharma sir, Senior Psychiatrist, SMS Medical College, Jaipur. Sir, please take your seat on the dais. Dr. Abhi Chaudhary sir, Dr. Shailendra sir, Dr. Pradeep Duri sir, and Dr. Sunil Sharma sir. I request our chairpersons to kindly introduce our speaker, Dr. Akhilesh Jain.
इम्पोर्टेंट है आप लोग यदि एक ही कोई सेशन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है ये नंबर 1 सेशन है ध्यान से सुनिए हाँ
And he has appreciations from Lok Sabha speakers, Chief Minister, Assembly, legislative assemblies and ministers of Rajasthan, and he is also affiliated to Royal College of Psychiatry UK.
Shall we go now? It's okay.
Okay, so he will introduce with his skills of soft skill development in workplace, and it is a kind of workshop.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I congratulate Samantha sir, their GM, Matoria and his team for organizing such a wonderful conference. And I'm thankful that you have given me this opportunity to share my views in this off-track subject, but it is very pertinent and very relevant what I'm going to say in next 45 minutes or 1 hour. So I'm much privileged that I have been given more time, but I am less privileged that I have not been given that much time that I could conduct a workshop on that, because that need to take entire day. All right. So I will just go into the nitty-gritty of why do we need soft skills, what soft skills are all about, why it is so relevant and pertinent to us as a health profession, not only mental health profession, but for everyone who has been working in an organization. And railway is the, I think, biggest organization. So let me begin with my talk. So my objective is to develop an understanding of the soft skills, to elaborate the importance of soft skills in our functioning, and our objective was to train the participants to understand the importance of interpersonal relationship, your attitude, your behavior, and your etiquettes in medicine. So I will be talking much about it instead of incorporating into that activity. So what exactly soft skills are? The soft skills are actually your characteristics, your habits,
attitude, the poise, that how you interact with others, how you impact others, how you influence others while you are dealing with them, and how do they feel about you, and how you feel about your interaction with them. It all comes into the ambit of the soft skills. So it is just a common sense. You do not need to acquire the knowledge about it. You all have these characteristics. The only thing is how explicitly we apply it into our day-to-day practice. That is more important, because it is nothing that we need to learn from someone else. It is all innate. Only thing is, do we acknowledge it or do we apply it? So it is your ability to communicate with someone. What is their impression about you? That is very important. And patient care is only one aspect of your soft skills. Because in patient care, we are not only dealing with the patient, we are dealing with the caregivers, we are dealing with many stakeholders while we are treating the patient. So we need to understand how this communication and interpersonal relationship becomes so important in delivering to the patient and caregivers. And many studies have shown, in corporate culture, that those who apply adequate soft skills at appropriate time would be more effective to the organization, would be more productive, and would be more successful. Now, the type of soft skills, when we talk about the type of soft skills, it could be interpersonal or it could be individual. So when we talk about the interpersonal soft skills, it could be empathy. We as a mental health professional or as a doctor in any specialty need to have empathy. We need to understand the perspective of the individual we are dealing with. If we understand that perspective, that context, then we will be able to effectively manage the patient and render our services. So we need not to sympathize only, but we need to empathize with the person. We need to understand the entire perspective. Then the leadership qualities, you ought to on the responsibilities, you ought to take the initiatives if you really need to deal with the situation. Then your interpersonal relationship, I was talking about that. Your communication skills, again I am talking about that. Teamwork, that builds when you communicate effectively, then you have a good interpersonal relationship, you will develop a better team. Then your manners, your attitudes, and confidence. Obviously, these are all your personal characteristics that help you a lot in dealing with the situation. Then your personal attributes, how optimistic you are. Sometimes, if you tend to view the situation even before you face the situation, you will never be succeeding. So you ought to learn how to handle the situation. Might be you face the failures, but still you ought to have that capacity and you ought to develop that optimism that there is a solution provided in the situation. Then responsibility. How responsible you are. Are you going to take the responsibility? Because unless you don't take the responsibility, you cannot succeed. If you have to progress, you ought to be responsible. Your integrity, your sense of humor in terms of what happens sometimes when something is said to us. You become quite personal about it. We take personal grudges, that why it has been said. So we need to put take the things in entire perspective. Okay. So taking everything as a personal grudges from our colleagues, from communicated to his seniors, CMD, GM, everyone, and he developed a team. Right. And that actually gave him a kind of confidence that he could take proper decisions. Had he been so skeptical about it that he would not talk to seniors, if I talk to them, they may refuse. He would have never been able to take, this much of responsibility in conducting such a wonderful conference. So when you make a team, it also gives you an opportunity to take adequate decisions, strong decisions, proper decisions. It also allows you to communicate effectively, and communication and interpersonal relationship are basic fundamentals for any organization to succeed. And as far as our profession is concerned, medical profession is concerned, it helps in establishing a therapeutic alliance with the patient. If you communicate well, because whenever a patient comes to you, the first step will be the communication with the patient. If patient comes to me and I do not communicate adequately with him, I do not respond him politely, I do not give him an opportunity to speak, I can never establish a therapeutic alliance. Howsoever good I am, howsoever competent I am in my subject, but if I did not communicate myself to the patient, I did not allow patient to communicate with me, I would never be able to impart the required treatment management. I would never be able to give him that faith which I could have done otherwise. It also gives an opportunity to learn about problem, because once you have established a therapeutic alliance, you'll have ample of opportunities to understand the problem, because once the patient has reposed his faith in you, you would definitely come up with all the problems, whether it's a personal problems or what kind of problems, but he will definitely speak to you. It also gives you an opportunity to communicate about the treatment alternatives, because especially in psychiatry, it's a long-term treatment, and there could be many ramifications of the treatment, like legal aspects and all those things. So unless you not explain everything to the patient, that may become deleterious in subsequent outcomes. So it gives you an opportunity to explain yourself, and it also gives you an opportunity to coordinate with your colleagues, your seniors and juniors, because it's a holistic, comprehensive treatment nowadays. Like cardiologists just told us that all many cardiac patients would have psychiatric ailments as well. So unless you do not have a teamwork, unless you do not have nowadays we talk about the consultation like and that only can take place if you have effective communication, effective interpersonal relationship. Because I need to take help of a forensic psychiatrist, I may need to take help of a cardiologist, I may need to take help of many other our stakeholders, our administrators, so many things. So to develop that kind of association, you need to have a good interpersonal relationship, and for that you need to have a good communication as well. And it also enhances your reputation as well. If you have spoken well to your patient, you have communicated well to him, you have communicated well to his family and care members, they would definitely spread the information about your good behavior. And that gives you satisfaction and a feedback that will prompt you to work more effectively. So what interpersonal communication is all about? Interpersonal communication is a process where we try to understand and transfer the information to the other person. What I believe, what I think, how do I communicate that? How do you perceive by others? That is interpersonal communication. And why it is important? Because as a professional, most of the time we communicate with each other. Whether it's an administrative issue, it's a clinical issue, whatsoever it is, we communicate with each other. It is a major skill on which we all depend. And whatever media we use, communication is fundamental.
युवाओं का बहुत अच्छा उपयोग कर रहे हैं, और सभी जो कैंडिडेट्स हैं, जो डेलीगेट्स हैं, उनको बाकायदा सर्टिफिकेट वगैरह भी दिए जा रहे हैं। वो सारा काम इन्हीं का है, और आप ही लोग इसको बहुत बखूबी अंजाम दे रहे हैं।
They would also, the expression, that is very important. When they speak, their emotional expression, their facial expression will match their voice, the content, so that they can effectively convey the message. Alright, and they give frequent pause to let the other person speak and to let the other person understand them properly. And what is their verbal pattern of verbal behavior pattern, that quite direct. When they speak, they know the content, they know what they are supposed to. They are not ambiguous. They are very clear about their thoughts. Alright. They do not attribute other person. There is no blame gaming. They would not attribute other person becoming responsible for that. They do not evaluate others. Alright. And they use generally I and we component in the talk, so that it's a kind of inclusive conversation. Other type of communication is aggressive. Sometimes you might have seen the component is they always try to take advantage of others. They would not allow others to speak. Alright. They would be self-enhancing, boasting themselves. Alright. They also try to infringe the respect and dignity of the person in conversation. And their non-verbal behavior would be glaring eye contact. Eye contact is different and glaring eye contact is different. They're frowning, clenching their teeth, fisting, all right. And they frequently interrupt. If somebody else is speaking, they won't allow them to speak. And their verbal pattern would be, they use swearing words, they use abusive words, they use threatening words, they might be given sexist remarks, and which will convey that explicitly or implicitly they are threatening the listener. And the third one is non-assertive. Non-assertive are those who give others an advantage. They would allow others to overpower them. They would be very timid, very inhibited. They would speak less, but they would give others chance to speak more. And their non-verbal behavior pattern would be they cannot make eye-to-eye contact. They would be dumb, stooped. Their posture would be like anyone can guess that is not confident enough. They are ringing, they are skipping on chairs. So that gives an opportunity to other person that this person is not quite confident. And they use qualifiers. I mean, they are not sure about their thoughts, their content, so they will use what maybe, would be, like, these are not confident words. So obviously, if someone has to be effective, he has to be assertive. Non-verbal communication is equally important, most of the time. The impact of your verbal output is a bit less. Your voice tone is more, but your facial expressions much more. If I speak something, if I'm saying good morning to you, at the same time I'm frowning at you, it would not convey a proper message. So your expressions are more important in conveying the message. So you got to understand that as well. A non-verbal message could be your environment. You might have seen that if you are sitting in a proper, properly ventilated, illuminated, good room. When someone gets into that room, he gets an impression that yes, I want to speak this person accordingly. So environment makes an impact. Then interpersonal distance, you should not be too close, you should not be too far. You ought to maintain a proper distance. Your posture, how you sit, your gesture, how you reciprocate, your facial expressions, your voice quality, all these matters a lot. Now when we talk about communication, we also need to understand the listening skills. Because we as a mental health professional need to spend much more time in listening to our patients. And otherwise also, when we are sitting in a meeting or we are dealing with our superiors, we ought to understand that not only the communication is speaking, but listening is an equally important component of the communication. And what kind of listening do we need to have? So the component of effective listening is one is capitalizing on the thoughts. Speed. What happens when someone is delivering a talk? The bad listener would start daydreaming, he would not be interested. But the good listener, he will stay with the speaker, he will try to summarize what the speaker is trying to say. He will look in between the lines. Even if he is not understanding, he is trying to understand what exactly the message is trying to be is being conveyed. A bad listener, he will only listen for the facts. कोई आकर भी आजा मुद्दे की बात बताओ बाकी चीजें छोड़ो. You will not be interested in whole conversation. Whereas a good listener will try to understand the central idea, will look everything into the context. So he would focus on listening the entire conversation and the entire deliverance. Bad listener, if there is no area of interest, he will blatantly reject the speaker. Whereas good listener will even try to find out in that case if the topic is of not my interest, still they would be focusing on the conversation, they would be focusing on listening and try to find out if anything of their relevance comes out. And bad speakers would judge the content, not the delivery. So bad speakers would judge the delivery, not the content. It's not always possible that every speaker would be as good orator, but he might be quite intelligent, he might be quite experienced, but whatever bad speaker would say, no, he is not speaking so well, so let's not listen to him. Whereas good listener will try to listen to the content, not the delivery, but the content, what is trying to convey. And bad listener sometimes he does does not find anything of his interest or anything he takes it personal, he would get into the conflict with the speaker. Whereas a good listener will try to understand the entire context before getting into the argument. Then, good listener would always give his attention, whereas bad listener would, extend. He does not spend his energy on listening much. He will easily get distracted. Nowadays, many things are available to get yourself distracted, your mobiles and other things. And most important thing is, when a speaker is speaking, the good listener will also look at the slides, look at the handouts, look at the other media through which the speaker is speaking. Because many things you may get visual aids instead of what the speaker is talking about. And for mental health professionals, why this communication and listening becomes so important are reflected in these slides. I will go very briefly about it. These are the interview techniques while we are dealing with our patients. Why it is so important to be a good listener as well and to be a good communicator. When we deal with our patients, initially we use non-directive techniques. Non-directive techniques are actually employed without focusing on a particular answer. I mean, it's a not, we do not ask leading questions, we allow patient to speak. How? We put up open-ended questions. What brings you to the hospital? So what happens? It gives patients an opportunity to speak about his problems. All right. Then repetition. We repeat the word exactly spoken by the patient. That gives patients an idea that doctor is interested in listening. He is actively listening. Then restatement. What we do, we rephrase what patient has spoken, we rephrase it. Means if patient has said that I had a bad dream last night. So we rephrase, are you getting disturbed by the dreams? So that gives patient an understanding that doctor is actively listening and is analyzing what I have already spoken. Then summation. The doctor tried to summarize whatever patient has spoken so far. So as to get an idea and give patient an opportunity that whatever I have spoken is exactly what I was intended to convey to the doctor. Have I really spoken what I was supposed to convey? Then clarification. Clarification, we try to get more detail from the patient, so we add up something. And facilitation is when patient is speaking to you, he ought to be very focused on him. He ought to say, ya means kind of, words that patient gets an understanding that yes, doctor is focusing attention, doctor is really listening to me actively. And sometimes what happens when the patient is talking to you, you are busy with your mobiles or you are doing something else. So that gives an impression the doctor is not actively listening, and that will be the point where he will get distracted from you and you can never win his sales. Then another is the directive technique. Directive technique is where we try to get a specific answer from the patient. So when the non-directive techniques have been applied, subsequently we apply directive techniques, wherein we ask closed questions, which mostly are answered in yes or no. Because here, whatever patient has spoken so far, based on that, now we are framing our own questions to get specific answers. And for that, we need to ask the directive questions which are answered in yes or no mostly. Like, did you sleep well yesterday? Are you losing weight? But then you ought to be careful again. Then we again try to rephrase the question to make the patient understand if he has answered correctly or not. And then redirection means we are trying to patient to reorient again. Many times what happens when patient is conversing with us, he will get distracted. So just to bring him back to the proper discussion, we try to redirect the patient. And then transition, this is very important. Once you have finished one part of your conversation, now you want to move on to the other. So that is called transition. Now transition should be very smooth. We generally consider three types of transition. What is that? Smooth transition would mean whatever discussion you have had with the patient until now, and what sentence patient has framed in last would be taken as a leading question for the next question. Another is a refer transition. That would mean whatever cue patient has given, whatever patient has spoken earlier, we take a cue from that and then we put up the question. And one is an introduce transition. You are entirely introducing a new question to the patient which was not related to the earlier conversation. And then we also need to have a limit setting. Sometimes the patient, like especially the maniac patients, would keep speaking. So you need to interrupt sometime to the patient in a very polite manner that we are going beyond the time. So we need to bring back patient to the real situation. These are other techniques. I won't go much into it, but this is very important. These are supposed to be the obstructive techniques. I mean, these should not be applied. Suggestive questions. Many times what happens, when the patient comes to us, we, instead of letting the patient speak, we give them the clue. Like the voices are not from your head. Am I right? So, I mean, I am directing the patient. I am giving him suggestion. So, you would not get the exact history, what patient was intended to convey, because you have already given him suggestions. So you should not be putting up suggestive questions. Why questions? Many times it happens, these questions ask the patient to discover their own problems. So it will again, distract the patient from you. Compound the question. Do not ask so many questions at the same time. Then you will get the vague answer because patient won't be able to understand you. So ask one by one. Disapproval. Sometimes happens that we disapprove what patient has conveyed to us. That is also not appropriate. And many times what patient has spoken, we try to vindicate the patient with his own remarks, which is again not good. So these are obstructive techniques which should be avoided, especially when we are dealing the patient with the psychiatric illnesses. Now comes the attitude, because our attitude also is an important component while establishing interpersonal relationship. Attitude is nothing but your feeling or your belief that how you approve or disapprove someone. I mean, how you perceive others' behavior and how you react to it. And your behavior is a reaction to that belief. It has a three component actually. It's not ABC, actually it is CAB. But ABC are written here. It has a cognitive component. Cognitive component would mean that it involves my belief about something. How do I feel about it? Like for example, I have given here that I believe that spiders are dangerous. I feel that spiders are dangerous. That is my belief. All right. That is my cognitive component. How I believe. Then comes an affective component. Because spiders are dangerous, so I am scared of spiders. That is my affective component. That is my emotion component. My cognition has determined my emotions. Because they are dangerous, so I am scared of them. And then comes the behavioral component. Because I am scared of them, so whenever I see the spider, I avoid or I may scream even. So that determines my behavior. So it applies to every situation in our day-to-day happening. And this slide is very important. This was taken from the publication that why etiquette in medicine is so important. Etiquette again is important: your communication, your interpersonal relationship, your attitude, your behavior towards your colleagues, your seniors, your patients, their caregivers as well. In medicine, it becomes more important because we are at the receiving end. We are dealing with the patients, we are dealing with their emotions, whether it's physical ailment or it's a psychiatric ailment. Because even with the physical illness, definitely the component of anxiety, worrisome would always be there because of the financial restrictions, job restrictions, all these things. So we need to be very careful. And why these etiquettes become so important? It was found that only 18% of the patient knew the name of the physician in charge of it. It happens in our hospital as well. The doctor has dealt with the patient has been treated, he has gone back home, but still he could not know the name of his doctor because he did never allow to speak, he did never allow to ask, neither he told him. So they did not know the name of the doctors. 43% patient could not state the reason of their admission. somebody has come to you with the complaint of pain abdomen, you admitted him, you did not tell him what exactly was the diagnosis, what treatment was given. 90% of the patients reported not being told about any adverse effect. That is very common. Nowadays, we are forensic doctors are also sitting here. We are living the time of legality, so we need to explain everything to the patient, whatever we are treating. All right. 58% of patients describe physician's explanation incomprehensible. Even if we have spoken to the patient or the caregivers, we generally use medical jargons. We do not use simple language. So they would not understand what was actually conveyed to them. And most of the patients, especially those who were admitted in medical surgical wards, they were not addressed with their anxiety component. They were, even physicians were not even aware of that would they be having any kind of anxiety symptoms or anything like that. So they were never addressed about it. So etiquette-based medicine says that we should use the model of IPR, introduce yourself to the patient, communicate effectively and frequently so the patient knows you. It would also help you in establishing and reposing the faith, address the need of the patient, respect, show dignity, explain your role to the team. Sometimes it happens that in ward, patient would never get to know who is doctor, who is nursing in charge, who is what. Because we don't wear badges most of the time. So he would not even know who exactly was the doctor. And if he wants to see you again, he'll have to ask, he'll be moving around in the hospital, who was the person who treated me. So that's why it's important. So what clear model says that connect yourself, listen, explain yourself, ask, and then reconnect. Because when patient comes into the follow-up, you need to establish a long-term relationship. It's not a one-time relationship. So activity we are not going to do because of the shortest time. And these are my last few slides, which are very important for us as an organization, as an individual, as a doctor, or as a human being even. Interpersonal behavior. Interpersonal behavior is something that would incorporate your communication, your attitude, your behavior, your etiquette, everything. Because if I communicate well, if I reciprocate well, I would have better interpersonal relationship. If I know you well, if I express myself well, you will understand me, I will understand you. If we have a good interpersonal relationship, we will definitely have an effective organization, and that will help us in bringing up success and better care for the patient as well. So interpersonal relationship again depends on the communication skills, your social skills, and your emotional intelligence. To understand interpersonal relationship, I will give you a brief account of Johari window. What Johari window is all about and how it explains why interpersonal relationships are important and how a good interpersonal relationship would actually result into a successful and leading organization, and that also applies to our patient care because we also work in a team. As a mental health professional or as a doctor, in whatever specialty we are, we ought to deal with your nursing staff, you ought to deal with your orderlies, you need to deal with your administrators. So, and you need to deal with the family members as well. So it applies everywhere. It's not only in terms of your medical services, in terms of your personal life, your interpersonal life, everywhere. So it's a tool basically that will help you understand why interpersonal relationship is important and how it helps to develop yourself and to develop the organization. It was actually developed by Joseph Luft and Harry Logan, and the name was given with their initials. So Joseph said, Joe was taken from Joseph and Harry was taken from the. So it becomes the Johari window. So it helps you to answer an old age question of how to build trust, right? And therefore build an effectivity. If we have built trust amongst each other, we'll work together, we'll trust each other, we'll own the responsibility, we'll share the responsibility, and we'll go forward. If trust is not built, failure generally follows. Because even if you take the example of this conference, it was not possible for the organization alone to organize such a big conference. they had to share the responsibilities to others, their colleagues. That could have been possible if they had a good interpersonal relationship. Isn't it? If they had trust in someone whom they have shifted the responsibility. So, it is only possible if you have a good interpersonal relationship, you have trust with each other, and that is only possible when you communicate well, when you speak well, when you listen well. So, how it happens? It has two principal components actually. One is that when you speak more, when you communicate more, you actually give your colleagues, your subordinates an opportunity to understand you. They will get to know about you. Many things, if somebody has joined your organization, you would not be knowing much about it, isn't it? But the more he interacts with you, the more he shares his views with you, the more he conveys his thoughts, the more you understand him. And the more you understand him, more you let him know what kind of person he is. And that will build the trust. You will get to know what kind of qualities he has. You will assign him responsibilities accordingly. He will also get to know about you, what kind of person you are. He will also share his feelings with you accordingly. So, one component is how you communicate and express yourself to let your colleagues know about you. And other one is the feedback from your colleagues. How they perceive you as an individual. How they think about you. I might be well convinced about myself that I am this kind of a person and I have this kind of, all qualities and competence. But you might not be thinking same way. So unless we do not communicate with each other, we would never get to know what kind of person I am. And you will also not get to know what kind of person I am. So unless there's an interaction, there's a communication, we do not understand each other. And if we do not understand each other, we cannot build trust. We cannot build faith. And if we do not build trust, we cannot work together. And if we don't work together, we cannot progress. The eventual fatalities comes to our patient, our organization. And us too as well in there. So, Johnny window is basically, it has 4 quadrants. We had to add one exercise, but that takes much time, so I just explain on these slides only. It has 4 components. It has one quadrant that is known as open area, the upper one. Then it has hidden area, the lower one. And third one is blind area, and fourth one is unknown area. The open area is one where we all in an organization know each other, what kind, our qualities, our capabilities, our competencies. I mean, what I know about myself, but you also know. The Dr. Akhilesh has these qualities, he is this kind of person. Qualities could be anything, he's honest, sincere, dishonest, irregular, regular, compliant, polite, rigid, timid, whatever it is. You know about those qualities and I also know about it. So that is one area. Okay? And once you know about me and I know about you, you can take work from me accordingly and I can take work from you accordingly, and there is an understanding. I know that if I ask something to him, he will get berserk and he will not respond me properly. So I will go to another person whom I know that he will comply with me very adequately and effectively. So that will help me to get my work done. Accordingly, they will also reciprocate me. So if we know about each other, that is our open area. Hidden area is, I know about myself, but you do not know about me. Those qualities. There could be many things which you may not yet be able to, understand what qualities are those, but I do know that. If you do not know those qualities, you cannot use me adequately. Unless I let you understand, I let you know that these are my qualities which you have not yet understood. Third area is the blind area. Blind area is where I do not know about myself, but you have impression of some traits or some characteristics that this person has these qualities or this person has these areas where he need to improve, but I do not know it. Alright, I may not be knowing that I can work effectively for long hours, but you know that you can work effectively for long hours. So, unless you do not acknowledge me with that quality, I will not work for you for long hours. So in blind area, you will have to tell me, my blind area will restrict only with the feedback only which I get from you. So if my blind area is restricted, my open area will be open. Product. And third one is the unknown area. Unknown area is those qualities or those characteristics which neither I know nor you know. What happens over a period of time when we interact, when we communicate, when we work together, we tend to know so many things about each other, so many qualities that we reciprocate over a period of time. So, in nutshell, if your open area, now let me ask you, which area would be best for an organization to develop to work? Open area, obviously. So, open area, to widen this open area, what we need to do is, we need to have effective communication. We need to have effective interpersonal relationship. That is only possible with the communication. The more I communicate, more I would be conveying my qualities to you, more you will get an opportunity to understand me, more you will let me know my qualities. If you let me know my qualities, my blind area will be shrunk. Over a period of time, when we are communicating with each other, we will get to know about each other, our unknown area will be shrunk. If I speak to you, if I communicate with you, I will let you know about myself, my hidden area will be shrunk. So eventually, if we communicate effectively, our open area will be widened. And when it is widened, more effective would be reciprocation, more effective would be teamwork, more effective would be working, understanding, owning, sharing responsibilities, and delivering to the patient and other stakeholders. So, the principle is to build the trust and insight by telling people about you, build more trust and insight by seeking and soliciting feedback, thus widening your open area. And if you follow these two principles, we can actually build a good association, we can actually build a good organization, we can actually work in association with each other to effectively render our services not only to the organization but also to the stakeholders, especially in our patients, because when we deal with our patients, we are not an individual who is dealing with the patient. It's entire team that actually works to treat the patient. So it is not meant only for the medical profession, even in any organization. If you are working, you ought to have more open area, ought to have good communication, you ought to have good interpersonal relationship, you ought to have resilience, you ought to have good holistic qualities. Then only we can actually develop the organization and develop ourselves.
So last 2 minutes.
I'm done. So these are some traits which I used to take in my exercise. I planned with Dr. Maturia that we'll be doing that, but that will take much time. That would have given you actually more practical aspect of that. But I'm sorry that we could not do that. And with this, I thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Very nice and informative lecture, and it is useful all us, not only in medicine.
एक मिनट मैं इनके बारे में बताता हूँ। मैं जब साइकियाट्री में एमडी करने एम्स में गया, मेरा सॉफ्ट स्किल was 0। सॉफ्ट स्किल में मेरा प्रोफेसर एक डॉक्टर जी साहसी बोल के एक साइकोलॉजिस्ट थी, मुझसे उम्र से कम थी 5 साल का। उन्होंने मुझे सॉफ्ट बना दिया, स्किल सिखा दिया, and I become a hero after getting the soft skills। अब मेरा साइकियाट्री में जाने का पहले और जाने का बाद यदि कंपेयर करोगे, there is 360 degree variance। जय सॉफ्ट स्किल की जय हो।
So these skills are as important in medicine or any medical branch as well as in our daily routine life or in administration also. I feel such. Thank you.
Thank you
and we should incorporate our right in Delhi patients in the police. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the valuable knowledge you shared with us. Now I request chairpersons to kindly honor our speaker with a memento and certificate.
Thank you so much for patience. Thank you.
And request our respected MD sir, Dr. P.C. Meena sir, to please come up on the stage and honor our chairpersons with a memento and certificate. Dr. P.C. Meena sir, giving certificate and memento to Dr. Pradeep Jyoti sir. Dr. P.C. Meena sir, giving certificate and memento to Dr. Shailendra. Sorry, Dr. Sunil sir. Dr. P.C. Meena sir, giving memento and certificate to Dr. Shailendra sir. Dr. P.C. Meena sir, giving memento and certificate to Dr. R.P. Chaudhary sir. Thank you, sir. The last stop of this session, as well as the culminating speech of this conference, is the neuroscience of sleep, GABA to DORA, emerging treatment options for insomnia. For this, I will request the chairpersons, Dr. Ravindra Prasad, CMS, Jamsi, North Central Railway, Dr. Kalpana Mishra, Ma'am, ACSC, Central Hospital, Jaipur, Dr. Ruchi Jain, Ma'am, ACSC, Central Hospital, Jaipur, and Dr. Harish Sharma, Senior DMO, Central Hospital, Jaipur, to kindly take a seat on the dais. Dr. Ravindra Prasad, Dr. Kalpana Mishra, Dr. Ruchi Jain, Ma'am, Dr. Harish Sharma, sir. I would request the chairpersons to kindly introduce the speaker to the audience.
Welcome, Dr. Pankaj Mittal. Dr. Pankaj Mittal is MD Psychiatry, consultant psychiatrist, and head Santok Pathology Memorial Hospital, Jaipur. His publications, there are more than 15 publications, awards, Nehru Award for Best Paper Presentation during Annual Conference of Rajasthan Psychiatric Society 2012. His special works are co-investigator in a large epidemiological study conducted by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, and National Mental Health Survey enhanced in 2015-16 for Madhya Pradesh state. Welcome, Dr. Pankaj Mittal. I invite you to deliver your lecture.
Thank you, madam. Thank you all chairpersons and organizing team of this conference to inviting me for speaking over neuroscience of sleep.
what is going to change as a practice of sleep medicine in the world, not only in India, in the world. So, a new molecule which I'm going to talk about, lemborexant, that how the practice of insomnia is going to change in the world in next few years. So, what exactly the pathological mechanism behind the insomnia, or what is actually insomnia? So, insomnia, which is not decreased arousal or only decreased arousal, it is a state of conditioned hyperarousal. So, we are not getting sleep because of our sleep promoting system is activated. We are also not getting proper sleep because arousal system increased. Okay, so now the state or mechanism are going to shift to decrease arousal system in night. Okay, so it also reduces sleep duration and fragmented sleep, which we also call middle insomnia, in which patients used to wake up multiple times during the night time. So, what are the mechanism behind this? Increased sympathetic activity. It causes increased systemic inflammation, and there's a disturbance in hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which may rise or causes like comorbid condition like hypertension. If there is insomnia, it increases atherogenesis. If there is insomnia, it also causes dyslipidemia, neurocognitive deficit, and other mental health disorders. I was talking to Dr. Maturia in the morning, and he told me that in his study, the railway employees in 15-16, he mentioned that 50% of railway employees, they are having some psychiatric symptoms in which sleep disturbance is very common. So those people who are suffering from shift worker or they are having shift, they need a molecule which does not cause daytime somnolence. So there are two major neuronal systems which are important to maintain of sleep during night. One is wake promoting area and another one is sleep promoting area. We know much about the sleep promoting areas like GABA and melatonin. Melatonin is hormone which is secreted pineal gland when there is a dark. But we are not very much into wake promoting areas, which are orexin. This is neuropeptide which promotes wakefulness, and histamine. We know about histamine that antihistaminic drugs they increase sleep. So histamine basically is a wake promoting molecule or neurotransmitter. So whenever there is an antihistaminic drug given, then sleep promotes or wakefulness decreases. But there are lots of side effects we have encountered with antihistaminic weight gain and all. So the concept of decreasing wake promoting area now shifted to orexin receptors. So we have now a new molecule which is known as dual orexin receptor antagonist, DORA, lemborexant. So what lemborexant how lemborexant help in sleep initiation maintenance, I will just summarize in then my next few slides. I will not go much into the studies which has been taking place by lots of pharma companies, but I will also concise what kind of conclusion they have found. So there are two orexin receptors. There are 1 and 2 which regulate sleep-wake cycle transitions. So via these neuropeptides, like orexin 1 receptor which help in REM sleep, and orexin 2 receptor which help in REM and NREM sleep. So orexin level in patients with insomnia, as with these slides, you can see that in normal sleepers, in the patient of insomnia, orexin levels, A levels are very high in comparison to normal sleepers. So we have to antagonize this receptor to promote the sleep. So lemborexin is a dual orexin receptor antagonist which decreases wakefulness in night, and that's why it promotes sleep. So lemborexin did not interact in vitro with most targets which involve sleep-wake arousal, including GABA receptor, serotonin, noradrenaline, histamine, acetylcholine. It is very selectively binds to orexin receptors and antagonizes the orexin receptors and promotes sleep and night. So, orexin receptor antagonist. This is the mechanism like what orexin tone does. So, whenever there is a high orexin tone, it promotes wakefulness and it inhibits sleep centers. So, when lemborexin binds to orexin receptors, it decreases orexin tone, which inhibits wake centers and increases sleep centers. So lemborexin by binding with two receptors increases sleep by decreasing wakefulness in night. So how they are different with GABA receptor bindings? So GABA receptor, they are having wide distribution, but orexin having local distribution. So we will give the GABA antagonist drug, it will affect every system of the blood, every system of the brain, not only sleep areas, it will affect every because it's anti-anxiety molecule, it's called muscle relaxation. So that's why we are going into precision. We are only targeting wakefulness. So this study they have done, which are two major studies has been taking place till date. There one Sunrise 1 and Sunrise 2. In Sunrise 1 they have taken active comparator which was zolpidem, which is very more or which is very close to this molecule. In Sunrise 2 they have seen the long-term efficacy and safety of the drug lemborexin. So they also measures subjective measurements as well as machine related measurement. So we use polysomnography methods to see objective measurement, and they have taken a sleep diary system to see the subjective measurement of sleep. So they have seen these kind of problem in labs, sleep labs as well as home. So in the Sunrise 1, which is time only for 1 month, and they have compared lemborexin 5 mg and 10 mg with zolpidem 6.25 mg. And they have seen latency to persistent sleep versus placebo, sleep efficiency, and wake after sleep onset, and wake after sleep onset in the second half. This is what that they have divided sleep into first half and second half. Because in the middle, they also, they also see that what kind of effects this drug is having if somebody is wake up in middle of night and he is having some work and he has to go to his work suddenly. So they have seen that how sedative effect this drug will have in the middle of night if he has been wake up suddenly. But in the Sunrise 2 study, which is the long-term basis study, and they have compared lemborexin 5 mg with 10 mg and placebo. And they have included, in the Sunrise 1, they have included almost elderly people, but in Sunrise 2, they have included young people too. So they have included diverse medical history of medical conditions were concurrently treated and controlled, including MDD, major depressive disorder, migraine, menopause, generalized anxiety disorder, hypertension, and diabetes. And lemborexant, they have seen that lemborexant help patient fall asleep faster. Means initiation of sleep, which is faster than zolpidem, which is faster than placebo. So lemborexant significantly reduce time to sleep onset by 19 to 32 minutes in comparison to placebo based on polysomnography and sleep diary assessment. Means on objective assessment as well as on subjective assessment, lemborexant helps patient to sleep faster than placebo and zolpidem. Lemborexant helps patient stay asleep longer. Means it also helps in middle insomnia, which is zolpidem does not much help because zolpidem is basically very good in initiation sleep, but not in maintenance of sleep. So lemborexant significantly reduces the time to wake up after sleep onset by 44 to 51 minutes in comparison to placebo based in polysomnography and sleep onset, sleep diary assessment. And as we've seen, that lemborexant has no drug tolerance. It demonstrated a sustained efficacy over time with no sign of tolerance because in Sunrise 2, they have taken study up to 1 year and they have seen there is no increase the doses of lemborexant in a long run. So there is no tolerance which has been seen with benzodiazepines as well as in jet drugs. So this is again advantages over benzodiazepines. So what kind of adverse reactions which is seen with lemborexant? Because lemborexant can increase somnolence and drowsiness. So patients who are elderly, they might have high risk of fall, but with only higher doses, 10 mg. On 5 mg, even they have not seen much of adverse reaction in elderly. So this study assessed physical dependence, withdrawal, or rebound insomnia in lemborexant treatment. A study suggested that chronic lemborexant use does not cause physical dependence at either doses of lemborexant. And analysis suggests that there is no rebound insomnia seen when they discontinue, as we have commonly seen with zolpidem as well as other benzodiazepines. Rebound insomnia is a big problem. And special safety assessment, they have also seen middle of night safety, that postal stability by some instrument. They also see the ability to awaken in the night, middle of night. They also see cognitive disturbances like attention and memory on scales. So they have seen that there are postal stability maintained, ability to awaken, respond to sound stimulus was not there, driving performance in morning was good, and cognitive was there is no cognitive deficit was seen, which is very common problem with benzodiazepines. So they have seen there is no problem in postal stability in the middle of night. They have seen there is no awaken to sounds. They have seen that there is no cognitive disturbances. They have also seen morning safety assessment by driving. There is no problem in driving as well. So proven doses. So doses, generally starting dose is 5 mg in a day, which should be given half an hour before the sleep. And if it is not, if there is no response, the drug can be increased up to 10 mg in a day. It is not recommended more than 10 mg.
Dr. Pankaj, kindly conclude.
So there is no drug-drug interaction was seen, and it is safe in pregnancy and lactation as well as in renal and hepatic impairment. Even in severe hepatic impairment, there is no contraindication of lemborexant. It is only contraindicated in severe renal insufficiency. So my experience, I'm not sharing much about my experience because experience is not considered as a reliable tool. So I discouraged myself to give my experience opinion regarding this.
Sir, you have told about the graduate engineer, but I have some thought this area is not like very common in our grade or in very profession. So, as a clinician also first find out the cause, or should treat cause first, then go for this method. Thank you for that suggestion.
Excuse me. Compared to zolpidem, what is its effect on the quality of sleep? The proportion of REM versus NREM.
Orexin 2 receptors, which also help to maintain NREM sleep. Orexin 1 receptor for REM sleep, but orexin 2 receptors for NREM sleep. So the drug lemborexant, which is dual orexin receptor antagonist drug. So that's why it's also maintain the quality of sleep by improving NREM sleep. Okay, so we have orexin 1 receptor antagonist drug also, where we only need to improve REM sleep, but not in India. Lots of drugs they are working on orexin receptor are under trial as well.
One more question, insomnia is a very common problem, not in overall all population, not only in railway employees. What we have seen that, especially now railway employees, we have in their prescription they have alprazolam, clonazepam, 30 tablets, and they are dependent on that. So is that, can we switch over our retired employees? Usually retired beneficiaries, they are taking antihypertensive and they are also diabetic. So is this molecule is safe for them?
First, we need to know that the lemborexant is only for sleep, not for any other comorbid psychiatric illness. It will not help in anxiety, it will not help in depression. It will only help in maintenance of sleep, initiation of sleep also. Fine. So number one. Number two, if somebody who is dependent over benzodiazepines for primary insomnia, there is no other psychiatric comorbidity. So we need to give a long-acting benzodiazepine initially, like chlordiazepine. We have to cross-table with the lemborexant with long-acting benzodiazepine. This is the standard method. So we have to calculate the doses of benzodiazepine, chlordiazepine. Like we have seen that 1 milligram of lorazepam is equal to 10 milligram of chlordiazepine. 2 milligram of lorazepam is equal to 25 milligram, nearly equal to 25 milligram of lorazepam. If somebody is taking 2 milligram of lorazepam every day for sleep, but 4 milligram of lorazepam every day, so we have to start with 25 milligram chlordiazepine along with lemborexant if there is a primary insomnia. Then we have to reduce slowly chlordiazepine and then stop with, and lemborexant will be sufficient. Because there is no withdrawal symptom if we start with long-acting or ultra long-acting benzodiazepine like chlordiazepine.
Thank you, sir.
Respected, I highlight one thing, respected all. Organizing committee under the guidance of P.S. Sir, we have selected this topic for this conference, especially because the recommendations for mental health sector by the expert committee has also suggested and include this molecule lemborexant for the especially the shift workers who are having the sleep problems. So we are working on this kind of recommendations. So we have to sensitize about this molecule. So we have included this. Thank you. If any questions regarding this, sir, I have one question. As we have discussed previously, our workers, shift workers especially, having the sleep problems,
And there is many of these products are also the category in the safety. And safety means they are involved in the train operations, especially they are dealing with the lives of thousands of patients. Whether such types of patients can use the laboratory molecule for safe process.
So till date, laboratory has not been studied in such process. We talk about non-responsive studies, laboratory is now using in delirium cases. Okay, so because the molecule is new, for safety measures, if we talk about safety measures, definitely it does not cause daytime sedation, which is seen mostly in benzodiazepines and sometimes with jet drugs. So daytime somnolence is not with lemborexine, and they have studied morning time driving. It's very nice because if you will read the study Sunrise 1 and Sunrise 2, what kind of measurement they have taken, they have placed instrument over car. Okay, and only 6 speeds of car they have asked them to drive, and there is one car behind this car, and they have seen that there is any shifting from the middle line. Okay, so they have seen driving performance, especially in morning time, and they have seen that it is near to, it is equal to placebo in the driving performance. So definitely it does not have impact in driving performance. So definitely for rail drivers, those who are in operations of driving, that will help them.
I have one question related to lemborexine. Is there any study on memory, attention, concentration after using lemborexine?
So in Sunrise 1 and Sunrise 2, they have applied a cognitive battery even during midnight and in morning, and they have found, they have seen attention, concentration, and executive functioning over that battery, and they found that even the middle of night there is no cognitive deficits. If we compare with the placebo, there is no cognitive deficit found in middle of night as well as in morning. So it does not affect or impact any cognitive phenomena. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking speech. Now, I will request the chairperson to kindly honor our speaker with a memento and certificate. Now I will request our CST sir, Dr. Satyababu sir, to kindly come up on the stage and present a memento and certificate to the chairpersons. Dr. Satyababu sir giving memento and certificate to Dr. Kalpana Mishra. Dr. Satyababu sir presenting Ruchi madam with memento and certificate. Dr. Satyababu sir presenting memento and certificate to Dr. Harish sir. Thank you, sir.
ये सत्यावान कोई छोटा ऑफिसर नहीं है, ये ऑफिस प्रिंसिपल प्रिंसिपल चीफ मेडिकल ऑफिसर होकर जा रहा है ICF चेन्नई, जो CMD का इक्विवेलेंट पोस्ट है।
Now, as we approach to the culmination of the conference, I hand over the mic to Dr. Judy Asoka for the valedictory function.
Gratitude is the fairest blessing which springs up from the soul. Every celebration is an experience. The external fades away and the internal lingers and echoes in the most depth of our hearts. We are reminded that events like this are one of the milestones of the journey of life. As we come to the culmination of our Indian Railway first annual psychiatry conference, IPSYCHON, for the valedictory function, I would like to invite our dignified guest on the dais. I would like to invite Dr. P.K. Samantri sir, PCMD sir, on the dais please. Dr. J.P. Rawat sir, who is PCMD, North Central Railway. Dr. Satya Babu sir, Chief Health Director, North Western Railway.
ये मालाबार इंडियन रेलवे में 2 साइकियाट्रिस्ट CMD है, इसीलिए ये कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहा है।
Dr. P.C. Meena sir, Medical Director, North Western Railway, Jaipur. Dr. Lakshmi Meena ma'am, ACMD, North Western Railway, Jaipur. Dr. Sharad Babu sir, CMS, North Western Railway, Jaipur. Dr. Ram S. Matoria sir, Senior DMO and Organizing Secretary of Indian Railways Psychiatry Conference 2022. Dr. Akhilesh Jain sir, HOD Department of Psychiatry, ESI Hospital, Jaipur. and Dr. Sunil Sharma sir, Senior Psychiatrist, Department of Psychiatry, SMS Medical College, Jaipur. I invite Dr. Sugandha Ma'am, PCMD, Northern Railway, Jaipur, Northern Railway, sorry.
मैं तो मैडम को पास में जाके उठाना होगा क्योंकि सी आवर फ्यूचर इजी।
It is my immense pleasure to call upon the stage our respected PCMD sir, Dr. P.K. Samantri sir, to address the valued audience. Dr. P.K. Samantri sir has done his MD in psychiatry from AIIMS, New Delhi. He joined Indian Railways in 1986. He worked as head of psychiatry department at Garden Reach Hospital. He has worked as chief medical superintendent at various places in Western Railway. He is presently working as PCMD, North Western Railway. He conducted State Conference of Psychiatry, West Bengal in 2001. He also conducted National Conference of Industrial Psychiatry of India at Garden Reach Hospital in the year 2002. He is a life fellow of Indian Psychiatry Society, Association of Industrial Psychiatry of India. Sir is also trained on adolescent and child psychiatry from NIMHANS, Bangalore, and drug and alcohol dependence from NIMHANS, Bangalore. He has done various researches on various topics in Indian Railways. I invite sir to address the audience.
देखिए, आदमी को मत पूछिए कि आप कितना पढ़ा लिखा हो, उसको पूछिए आप कितनी अच्छे हो। ये होता है सॉफ्ट स्किल। आज जो 1 आवर लिया ना व्हाट्सएप, एक्चुअली कोई भी चीज में सक्सेस के लिए आपका सॉफ्ट स्किल बहुत जरूरत है। इन्होंने बताया ना, इनको आप लोग को मैं सारे सीएमडी को रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, सर को लेके एक दिन का व्हाट्सएप कराइए। आपका डॉक्टर का परफॉर्मेंस 25% जरूर इंक्रीज करेगा, ये मेरा गारंटी है। जब एक अच्छा आदमी टॉप में बैठता है, जो सबको अप्रिशिएट करता है, जो सबका टैलेंट को रिकॉग्नाइज करता है, उससे जेलस नहीं होता। ये सबसे बड़ा खतरा है। आपका अंडर में जब कोई जूनियर ज्यादा इंटेलिजेंट होता है ना, बॉस को समवेयर जलन होता है। कहां जलन होता है मैं नहीं बता पाऊंगा। और वो कोशिश करता है कि उसको टांग खींचे, और उसको पता नहीं है वो अपना टांग खिंचवा रहा है। एक अच्छा बॉस वो होता है जो सबका टैलेंट को रिकॉग्नाइज करता है। सबका अंदर में कुछ ना कुछ पॉजिटिव टैलेंट है, उसका बुराइयां मत देखो, उसको अच्छाई को पहचानो, उसको बीज बनाओ, अच्छा जमीन में डाल दो। देखोगे वो वेस्ट बंगाल में मैं 28 साल था, वहां एक बानियन ट्री है, बस कितना किलोमीटर, बस अब बताओ कितना किलोमीटर एरिया ऑक्यूपाई किया है। हमारा सीएमडी जो है ना, ये बहुत गजब का सीएमडी है ईस्टर्न रेलवे का। वो अगला महीना कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे हो, जनवरी में कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहा है, जरूर जाना, बस सबको इनवाइट कर दो, यहाँ खड़े हो, हाँ, खड़ा होके बोलो बस, हाँ अच्छा माइक में बताइए।
It's a great privilege for me to announce that Eastern Railway is organizing a medical conference, All India Medical Conference on 7th January. All are welcome in the program, and we will enjoy the program. I am 100% sure. We have got different other than academic activities, other programs will also be there, and also you have a touch of the Bengal culture there. But like we enjoyed the Rajasthani folk songs yesterday. Similarly, I guarantee you that we will have a Bengal teams in the forthcoming session. All are welcome. I will be requesting all of you to attend the program. Thank you.
कब क्या होगा किसको पता, आज जिंदगी का ले लो मजा, आज क्या बात आते हैं, ये जनवरी का बात पता है। हाँ, तो बेसिकली वेस्ट बंगाल में एक बानियन ट्री है जो कि करीब कितना, बस कितना सर, कितना किलोमीटर सर कितना स्क्वायर किलोमीटर ऑक्यूपाई किया हो बंगाल का बानियन ट्री?
ये अराउंड 400 years का banyan tree है। हाँ, बोटानिकल गार्डन में है। हाँ, कम से 1.5 किलोमीटर तो 2 किलोमीटर।
देखिए एक बानियन ट्री 1.5 किलोमीटर का एरिया ऑक्यूपाई करता है। आपका अंदर में जो डॉक्टर है वो एक बानियन ट्री से कम नहीं है। उनका बुराइयां भूल जाइए। चंद्रमा भी कलंक है, राम को भी लोग गाली देते हैं, लॉर्ड राम, आप में कोई राम है तो उसको नहीं, मैं लॉर्ड राम को बता रहा हूं, भगवान रामचंद्र को भी लोग गाली देते हैं। हमारा डॉक्टर का अंदर में तो कुछ नेगेटिविटी जरूर रहेगा, उसको छुपा दीजिए, उसका अंदर का हर पॉजिटिव टैलेंट को रिकॉग्नाइज करिए, और उसको यदि आप एक बानियन ट्री बनाएंगे, ऐसे इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस इंटरनेशनल लेवल का बन जाएगा। मैं 1 साल पहले हमारा जो मेडिकल डायरेक्टर साहब है अभी डॉक्टर पीसी मीना, उनको मैं रिकॉग्नाइज किया कब जानते हैं? 1986 से पहचान लिया। 1996 में बस हम लोग मिलके गए थे। 1996 से हम लोग एक साथ गए थे नायर ट्रेनिंग में, तब से मुझे लगा ये तो कोहिनूर हीरा है, कोहिनूर। तब से ये मेरा नजर में था, इसको मैं पहचान लिया। अभी ये जितना तेज देख रहे हो ना, ये कोहिनूर हीरा का तेज है। और दूसरा है हमारा माटोरिया, ये डबल इंजन का सरकार है। इसका अंदर में 2 इंजन है, एक तो साइकाट्री का इंजन और एक पीएसएम का इंजन, ये डबल डिग्रीधारी है। ये भी मैं पहचान लिया, ये भी एक गुरु है। उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं, कौन सा अवार्ड देंगे? भारत रत्न। ये भारत रत्न का हकदार है। मैं 1 साल पहले इन दोनों को टारगेट दिया कि आपको 1 साल दे रहा हूं, मुझे ऐसे एक बानियन ट्री पैदा करो जो 1.5 किलोमीटर में स्प्रेड करेगा और जो आए उसको दिल को बहलाएगा। आज मुझे खुशी है कि ये बानियन ट्री आप लोगों को सबको खुश कर दिया है, इसीलिए ताली। और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट दर्शक है, यूजुअली लास्ट सेशन में कोई नहीं रहता। इवन आप नेशनल इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस में जाइए, जो लोग चेयर उठाने वाले वही बैठ रहते हैं और जो स्टेज में बैठेंगे उनको तो कोई चारा नहीं है, बेचारा है, वो बैठेंगे इसलिए बैठे रहते हैं। एक दो आदमी बैठे रहता है, अब वो ज्यादा लंबा देर सुनेगा तो आप मुझे इतना लंबा क्यों सुना? सर मुझे तो चेयर उठाना है ऐसे होता है। आज आप लोग इतने पार्टिसिपेंट को देख के मुझे क्या खुशी हो रही है, आप इमेजिन नहीं कर पाएंगे। और मेरा देखिए पीसीएमडी लोग अभी भी बैठे हैं, जयपुर का घूमने फिरने का बात देखे, सारे राजस्थान का सुंदरता को देखने का बात देखे, मेरा पीसीएमडी लोग अभी तक बैठे हैं, ये मेरा कॉन्फ्रेंस का सफलता को दर्शाता है। मैं बहुत आभारी हूं आप लोगों का कि आप लोग इतना बड़ी संख्या में आए और हमारा आतिथ्यता स्वीकार किया और कॉन्फ्रेंस का सक्सेस में सहायता किया। और मैं पूरा डॉक्टर पीसी मीना का नेतृत्व में जितना सारे टीम मेंबर है सबको तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करता हूं, इन्होंने ये इतना बड़ा banyan tree को खड़ा किया। और नहीं बोलूंगा क्योंकि मेरा तो बोलने में बड़ा बीमारी है, मैं जहां खड़ा होता हूं घंटे बोलता हूं मेरा यूट्यूब में 8762 वीडियो है ऐसे बकबक करने का तो आज ज्यादा नहीं बोलूंगा, आप लोग को धन्यवाद देकर विश्राम करूंगा। थैंक यू।
Thank you very much, sir, for this enlightening speech. Now I will take the opportunity to call upon stage our respected medical director, sir. Our respected MD, sir, Dr. P.C. Meena is a medical graduate and MBA in healthcare services. He has also done post-graduation in yoga and meditation. He has done PGC in hospital and health management from National Institute of Health and Family Welfare, New Delhi. He has worked from health unit to in charges of subdivisional hospital Gandhidham and Udaipur. He has worked as ACMS and later CMS of Ajmer Division, Northwestern Railway, and presently working as Medical Director, Central Hospital, Jaipur. Sir was also selected in Allied Civil Services 3 times, but he did not join. It is our privilege to have him as organizing chairperson of this conference. I invite sir to have a few words with us.
सबसे पहले तो मैं आप सब लोगों का दिल से धन्यवाद करूंगा कि आप दूर दूर से यहाँ हमारी कॉन्फ्रेंस में आए, हमें आशीर्वाद दिया। हमारे पीसीएमडी सर, सभी जॉन के पीसीएमडी और डेलीगेट्स, ये हमारा प्रिविलेज था। हमको रेलवे बोर्ड ने ये आशीर्वाद दिया है कि हम इस कॉन्फ्रेंस को ऑर्गेनाइज करें। तो डेफिनेटली किसी जॉन को अगर कोई कॉन्फ्रेंस अलॉट होती है तो उसके लिए बहुत बड़ा प्रिविलेज है, अपॉर्चुनिटी भी है। So we got it and we have managed it. We hope कि आप सब लोग कंफर्टेबल यहाँ स्टे किया होगा, आराम से आपका जो साइंटिफिक सेशन उसको अटेंड किया है और उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप अच्छी मेमोरी लेके यहाँ से जाएंगे। मैं इस मौके पे सर थोड़ा I want to input from my management skill to you all my friends जो हॉस्पिटल के इंचार्जेज है, हॉस्पिटल के जो चला रहे हैं, उनको कुछ few words I will say for few minutes कि हम लोग अभी सॉफ्ट स्किल की जो बात किया, मैं कहूँगा कि हमारा जो एजुकेशन है कि वी हैव ग्रेजुएटेड मेडिकल और एमडी एंड डिफरेंट स्पेशलिटी, दैट इज द वन एस्पेक्ट, दैट इज वी हैव स्टडीड द साइंस, so that is the qualification you earn, but use your qualification is a different aspect, so that requires the soft skill, that requires the management skill. तो वो नॉर्मली क्या कि वी डोंट हैव सच काइंड ऑफ एक्सपोजर। जब हम लोग मेडिकल करते हैं वहाँ ऐसा कोई प्रोविजन नहीं है। इवन आई सजेस्ट कि जो करिकुलम में भी लास्ट फाइनल ईयर में 1 month 2 month इस तरह का कुछ होना चाहिए जिसमें उनको बताया जाए डॉक्टर्स को, तो दैट विल बी मोर सक्सेसफुल, उनको कम कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो। we will find a lot of problems while we dealing the patient. So इस तरह का provision होना चाहिए. Although the ambulance admission now they started the 1 month training course जिसमें मतलब कुछ बच्चों को सिखा रहे हैं वो लोग इंग्लिश वगैरह कुछ बेसिक स्किल्स वगैरह जो प्रॉब्लम किया, बट इट शुड बी द फाइनल ईयर एग्जाम. सो मैं कहूँगा कि आपका जो नॉलेज है जो वट एवर यू टेकन दैट शुड बी रिफ्लेक्टेड, दैट शुड बी सक्सेसफुल. लोग वो लोग हैं जिन्होंने आर्ट ऑफ ट्रीटिंग द पेशेंट सीखा है. आर्ट ऐसा कुछ नहीं, बेसिक दैट इज अ कॉमन सेंस कि व्हाट यू एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम द अदर्स. ऐसा कुछ नहीं कि बहुत बड़ा स्कूल हमको जाना है. आप दूसरों से क्या उम्मीद करते हो, स्पेशली योर बिहेवियर, योर कम्युनिकेशन, योर इंटरेक्शन, वो हम उस पेशेंट को दें. या उसको जब हम लोग किसी के पास जाके देखें, एम्पैथेटिक जिसको हम बोलते हैं, जो बहुत कॉमनली मतलब प्रैक्टिस में है मैनेजमेंट में कि यू मस्ट बी एम्पैथेटिक. तो आप ये उम्मीद करके पेशेंट आपसे उम्मीद करता है जब वो आपके पास आता है तो आप भी उस तरह का रिस्पॉन्स करें. ऑफ कोर्स बहुत डिटेल में उन्होंने आपको सॉफ्ट स्किल बताया है, उसको मतलब क्या कि टेक होम मैसेज है. इफ यू वांट टू रियली सक्सेस योर प्रैक्टिस, सक्सेस योर एज इंचार्ज ऑफ हॉस्पिटल, उसको हम इम्प्लीमेंट करें. हम लोगों ने स्पेशली हमारे जो जैसे मैं जहाँ भी रहा हूँ, आई हैड वर्क इन ए स्मॉल यूनिट टू 2 सब डिविजन हॉस्पिटल, 1 डिविजन हॉस्पिटल राइट नाउ देयर. So I believe in my team. I delegate everything to them. पहले आप अच्छा सा प्लान करके उनको डेलीगेट कर दिए, समझा दीजिए और लेट देम डू देयर बेस्ट बिकॉज लॉट ऑफ टैलेंट्स आर देयर इन आवर टीम. हम लोग ये नहीं करते कि वो स्मॉल थिंग्स विल इंटरेक्ट या इंटरफेयर इन देयर वर्किंग. सो दैट इज द वन रीजन कि व्हाई वी एबल टू मैनेज दिस कॉन्फ्रेंस, कि हमने कुछ मीटिंग्स की और हमारे जो जिनको काम असाइन किया उन लोगों ने ये काम बहुत अच्छी तरह से इफेक्टिव किया. और इन बिटवीन अगर यू शुड बी स्टैंड बाय देम, इफ एनी प्रॉब्लम यू हैव टू बेयर द लॉस. मतलब जो आप लीडरशिप का ये क्वालिटी होना चाहिए कि वो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ले, क्योंकि बेसिकली आप उसको डेलीगेट कर रहे हैं. 2 थिंग्स आर हियर. डेलीगेशन इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग, बट अथॉरिटी आप दे रहे हैं बट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी डेलीगेट नहीं होती. When you are CMS or MD, आप किसी डॉक्टर्स को जो असाइन कर रहे हैं, बट you are fully accountable at all if any failure, but you trust your team. तो मैं ये कहूँगा कि जो हॉस्पिटल्स में हम लोग चला रहे हैं उन लोगों को बेसिक मैनेजमेंट स्किल, although we got all have opportunity in staff college Baroda, but still we have the option to learn it. We have to focus in the hospital. Hospital में हमारी core activity है patient. If you divert our focus from patient to somewhere else, you will fail. So number one, whatever you taken the decision, आपका patient centric होना चाहिए. Hospital में आप कोई भी decision ले रहे हो, patient centric होना चाहिए. If you are investing the money, extending the facility or anything else, so always keep in mind कि क्या वो जो decision है वो patient centric है नहीं, patient benefit. हम लोग focus करते हैं आजकल बहुत बड़ा मैनेजमेंट में क्वालिटी एक कंसेप्ट है जो कि बहुत लॉन्ग में सब जगह सुनते आते हैं. What is a quality patient care? So everybody has a different criteria assessment of the quality. But quality का एक मोटा हिस्सा होता है कि what requires the patient, what requires the customer. He decides your quality. You are not to decide. You have to develop everything, but what he requires. The different kind of criteria of quality. A patient from the very rural background or a gangman, he has a different quality. A patient from your high officer has a different quality. That also matters. हम लोगों को ये सब चीजें देखना चाहिए. तो नॉर्मली हम हॉस्पिटल में फोकस करते हैं कि क्वालिटी में व्हाट 3 एस्पेक्ट ऑफ अ क्वालिटी, दैट अ वेल ट्रेन्ड मैन पावर, मींस वेल ट्रेन्ड डॉक्टर्स एंड पैरामेडिकल, ऑल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मींस ऑल इक्विपमेंट्स, एंड नंबर 3 है आपका पेशेंट फोकस. तीनों चीजें अगर हम फोकस करेंगे तो आपका परफॉर्मेंस बढ़िया होगा. And keep on focus. There is no end of improvement of quality. Always there is a scope of improvement. ऐसा नहीं होता कि आज today we have reached here. Always there is a betterment. उस पर हम फोकस करें. Small issues, interpersonal जो बहुत अच्छी तरह से उन्होंने बताया टीम वर्क में कि हमारे जो डॉक्टर्स है, जो हमारे पैरामेडिकल, उनको आप ट्रस्ट करिए, उनको मतलब उनको जॉब असाइन किए और उनको ट्रेन करिए. अगर ये हम नहीं करेंगे तो आप अपने, because you have limitation, you have 6 to 8 hours in a hospital. How can you manage 24 hours? So train your team. जो भी स्पेशलिस्ट है वो अपनी टीम को ट्रेन करें. We have created in our hospital small groups, one system, whole hospital, sub systems, every department, and I assigned that department to the individual doctor. Suppose one in charge of the medicine, he is responsible for that department. उसकी एक अपनी team है. They create their own team, they interact them, and if any problem they come to me. So that kind of approach we require. But that is not the end. Still we have lot of things to focus. The conflict is a very common thing, sir. When the same level of people are working, then all the professionals, all the doctors, all the paramedics. It is very common because you have to manage the conflict effectively and efficiently. How? When you go for managing the conflict, always you favor fair and just and listen both the party, and you have to give the judgment. That kind of judgment should last long. Not that judgment should not be biased. So that condition, the judgment should be win-win situation. Both the parties go outside and they feel that we got our favor. That kind of approach you require. When you are taking the decision for any topic, any subject, you have the options, many options. So somebody has the different options, you have that limited option. So that limited option you do the best. The best decision is the rational decision for you. But that rational decision is not for everyone. So I am taking decision for my hospital, that should be rational for my organization or railway, within railway rules. So that kind of approach you also requires. He also, Dory windows and some other things also he has shared. Transaction skill also very important when you are transacting with the people, when communicating. So that transaction you have to be very, very careful. What you are communicating with your colleagues, your boss and your staff. That also skill required with people. Because how you give the message, your expression, body language, that everything matters. These all small things matter in a long term. So when you are in charge of any hospital, CMS or MD, you have to take care of these things. And sir ने बहुत क्लास में कहा कि banyan tree, that should be we are in a stage, we become the CMS, MD or CMD, so we got everything. We have to forget things कि हमको कुछ और चाहिए. Let our जो younger generation, let them grow, then give them all opportunity within the available resources. समय बहुत बदल रहा है. समय बदलने के साथ हमको एक्सेप्ट करना चाहिए कि जो नए लोग हैं हमसे ज़्यादा टैलेंट है, ज़्यादा वेल इन्फॉर्म्ड है, बहुत टेक्नोलॉजिकल है. तो उन लोगों को हमको रिस्पेक्ट करना चाहिए, उन लोगों को हमको रिकॉग्नाइज करना चाहिए, उनको क्या कि mainstream में लाना चाहिए. And in the last I said कि जो attitude है life में, that matters in your success. So take things in the right attitude. Positive and negative attitude का एक concept था, but right now the terms are different. You have to be right attitude means what that situation requires. Where you have to say no, whom you have to say the no, and who you have to welcome. Not every time be positive, but still the right attitude toward the situation, toward the person, toward your organization, that requires. So that is very important for us. That I believe I share and I practice these all things in my railways, my organization, wherever I work, and give the people, you create a team that implement your ideas, assign them as your job, what you want to, and that is not only the in charge has not only to running the daily hospital and daily operating, no, you have to visualize after the 1 year, 5 years, 3 years, what you want to do in your hospitals. One more important in railways, because we are not a core activity, we are a auxiliary activity, we are not a man department of the railway, so we have limited of the resources. Railway has created medical department only their primary health care or their industry health aspects. But from the primary health care, we reach the tertiary health care. Our journey is very successful. We appreciate a lot of hard work done our predecessors, our IRHS, IRMS officers. So we have to, how we get this other support of the other departments. Yesterday, CMD sir also said the sister branches. So railway, if you really want to have these kind of resources, other support, then you require to be DRM, GM is very important. You have to manage them also. Many times you have to manage perfectly. That is not within the rules. Many times you have to give the medicine which are not been possible to purchase as per your official instruction. Many times you have to refer the patient which is really not required. These all small things matters. The general management only requires from the medical that they require medical health care perfectly. If you are a good doctor, you are a good clinician, then 90% job is completed. But basically, if you fail to provide this basic need to them, then you won't get the support. आपको बहुत बढ़िया सा support नहीं मिलेगा. तो इस चीज का हम ध्यान रखें. And after this my address, I believe that हम लोग जो कॉन्फ्रेंस किया है, पूरा जो अरेंजमेंट किया है, और सभी लोग आए हैं, हमारे जो अदर डिपार्टमेंट से, हमारे जीएम सर थे, एम सर थे, जिन्होंने पीसीएमडी सर थे, जिन्होंने हमको कंटिन्यू ब्लेसिंग रखा, और इवन पूरा नॉर्थ वेस्टर्न रेलवे की पूरी टीम. इस कॉन्फ्रेंस नॉट ओनली द जयपुर, अजमेर डिवीजन है, हमारे बीकानेर जौनपुर डिवीजन, दे हैव actively participated, contributed in this conference. So I really thanks to them. Many other departments, S&T, engineering, they all have done the good work and continue to support me, my team. So we also thank to them. Even Jaipur division very well supporting us. DRM Jaipur also. तो वे हम सबका दिल से धन्यवाद भी देते हैं, और हम लोग इसको कोशिश करेंगे कि हमारी सर्विसेज उनके लिए लगातार वैसी रहे. मैं एक लास्ट में जैसे कल्चर प्रोग्राम था, तब डीजी सर ने जाने से पहले अनाउंस मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल मस्ट बी देयर, लेकिन फिर भी मैं दोबारा अनाउंस करूंगा. डीजी सर हैज अनाउंस्ड द कॉन्फ्रेंस अवार्ड ऑफ 70,000. So really thanks to डीजी सर, टीम रेलवे बोर्ड, उन्होंने हमारा जो कॉन्फ्रेंस है उसको एक आशीर्वाद दिया है, वो बना रहेगा. अंत में मैं आप सब लोगों का धन्यवाद देता हूँ, और आई एम हियर अवेलेबल 24/7 फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू. थैंक यू सर.
Thank you very much, sir, for the word of wisdom. I request our MD sir to present the memento to our respected PCMD PK Samantri sir.
बीचों बीच आने से जो मजा है, ये कोने में कहा है, और फ्यूचर डिजिटल साथ
I request our MD sir to present the memento to Dr. Sugandha Ramaman, PCMD NR.
ये हवा महल है, हवा हवाई.
I again request our MD sir to present the memento to Dr. J.P. Rawat sir.
अरे ये भी मेरा बड़ा क्लोज दोस्त है. ये मैं इसके अंदर में 1 साल काम करूंगा, मैं 3-4 महीने बाद रिटायर हो जाऊंगा, उसका 2 साल है. इसको मुझे अच्छा से तेल मारना पड़ेगा अभी से. मैं 4 महीने के बाद फ्यूज बॉल बन जाऊंगा, और ये चलती हुई बॉल.
Now I request our CHD sir, Dr. S. Satya Babu sir, to present the memento to our guests, Dr. Akhilesh Jain sir. Dr. Akhilesh Jain sir. And Dr. Sunil Sharma sir. CHD sir requested to present the memento to Dr. Sunil Sharma sir. I invite Dr. Sanjay Saha sir to present the memento to Dr. Satya Babu sir. I request Saha sir to take one more moment to give a memento to Dr. Sharad Babu sir. Kalpana Mishra ma'am to present the memento to Dr. P.C. Meena sir.
ये तो बड़ा गजब काम है ये। इसी बिना इसको तो मुझे खड़ा रहना पड़ेगा साथ में। ये असली हाथी का दो दांत दिखाने के लिए और खाने के लिए और आजा आजा और तुम दो बीच में रहो। ऐसे करके हम ऐसे सही ये असली हाथी का है मैं तो दिखाने का।
I request Dr. Chitralekha Sharma ma'am to present the memento to Dr. Lakshmi Meena ma'am.
ये मेरा फ्यूचर चीफ हेल्थ डायरेक्टर है। अच्छा मैडम मुझे बुला लीजिए। आप देखिए ऐसे दोनों पकड़िए दोनों दोनों हाथ में इनका दोनों हाथ खुले हैं।
And I request Dr. R.P. Chaudhary sir to present the memento to Dr. R.S. Matoria sir.
अरे ये भी तो गजब का है। ये कौन सा कम है?
Dr. R.S. Matoria sir needs no introduction now, I guess.
आजा आजा अभी जो देने वाला है यहाँ दोनों आप भी उसको दो। हाँ ये तो दो हकदार है ये।
I request Matoria sir, organizing secretary of this conference, to convey vote of thanks.
Respected guys and delegates, this conference was a teamwork, and I was also one of the members of this wonderful team. And commander, controller, and conductor of this team is our respected MD sir, Dr. P.C. Meena sir, and director, and we can say goal of this team of this conference is our respected PCMD, Dr. P.K. Samantha sir. I have no words to appreciate the contribution of this team and our seniors, but try to conclude in few lines. I am thankful to our DG RHS, Dr. Prasanna Kumar sir, for allowing us to organize this conference. I owe my sincere gratitude to our GM, Sri Vijay Sharma sir, for promoting us with all logistics and manpower. We are highly grateful to our respected AGM sir, Gautam Arora sir, for his extended blessing upon us. It is my privilege to thank our PCMD, Dr. P.K. Samantha sir, for guiding us. Our MD, Dr. P.C. Meena sir, deserve our salutations for his tireless efforts and consistent monitoring for making this scientific trip a grand success. और इससे भी ज़्यादा ये है कि सर ने इसको बेटी की ब्याह की तरह लिया और सर का है कि जिस तरीके से उन्होंने वर्क किया वो ये था, उन्होंने कहा अगर बेटी का ब्याह ही करना है तो सोचना नहीं है। और इनके एफर्ट्स के लिए इसी मतलब पूरी नाइट डे नाइट जिसे डे नाइट एक्चुअली कहते हैं वो रात को क्या कि सर ने काली की है ताकि अगले दिन साइंटिफिक प्रोग्राम करवाने के लिए मैं सोच दूँ। इसलिए सर क्या कि और सर के साथ मैं पूरी रात यहाँ पर बैठ के पूरा अरेंजमेंट किया और जाके हैं और उनके साथ में हमारे डॉक्टर हरीश सर, डॉक्टर नाथ, डॉक्टर तोमर सभी लोग थे। I am highly thankful to respected CPR Captain Sasikanth sir for his unconditional support and motivation. I am thankful to entire organizing committee members who have worked day and night, leaving no stone unturned for successful accomplishment of this conference, I would particularly mention very special remarks of gratitude for Rajasthan Medical Council who have granted us 3 credit hours per day for speakers and 2 hours per day for participants for this conference. And for this class,
इसका इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड बताता है कि राजस्थान स्टेट बोला कि ये जो लेक्चर्स बाटोरिया में जो सेट किया है ये कोई नेशनल नहीं इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड का है.
thank you, sir. And for these credit points from RMC, I especially thanks to Dr. Sunil Sharma, sir, Senior Consultant, SMS Medical College, because due to unawareness and some other problems or busyness, you can say, we couldn't apply in time to the RMC. That was the one month prior to the scheduled conference. We couldn't apply for the getting the credit points, but it made possible. It made possible by the Dr. Sunil Sharma sir by approaching to the authority of the RMC and awarded us the credit points. Thank you, sir. On behalf of organizing committee, it's my moral duty to mention special thanks to all empaneled hospitals and especially to Shri Navish Soni and Soni Hospitals and all pharmaceuticals who contribute directly or indirectly and who have added members to whole function. I am highly thankful to our other area departments like finance department especially who have कोई अड़ंगा नहीं लगाया किसी भी फाइल में और चलती रही और आज अंजाम करा के एसएमडी डिपार्टमेंट, इलेक्ट्रिक डिपार्टमेंट, इंजीनियरिंग डिपार्टमेंट, सपोर्ट each and every step. I am thankful to Senior PRO YK Sharma sir for his extended cooperation for publishing our news and giving the wide publicity and creating the awareness among not only the healthcare professionals and also among the general public also. I am also highly thankful to our media persons for giving highlights to the conference. We are thankful to our all union representatives. I am especially thankful to Dr. Akhilesh Jain sir, HOD ESI Hospital Jaipur. Without support of sir, without guidance, without direction, because this was a typically scientific program and we don't have much experience in such types of conferences. Although I was the joint organization secretary in 2011 when the radio public health sector conference was held at Jaipur, but this scenario was totally different, scenario of very high level. So thank you sir for blessing us not only with your thoughts, with your all input, for experience, all types of guides. Thank you sir. We are also thankful to Mr. Nigam sir who have coordinated at this club for all types of the arrangements. And at the end, it is my moral as well as deep-seated pleasure to express my heartfelt gratitude for all the delegates who substantially contribute to make this conference a great success. आप सब लोगों को दिल से नमस्ते कि आप लोग यहाँ आए और इसको सक्सेस बनाया और मैं कुछ कह भी दिल से बोलना चाहता हूँ. ये जो कॉन्फ्रेंस है इसमें आप सभी को ही पता है कि डेफिनेटली जब इतनी बड़े लेवल की कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई है तो बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम्स आई होगी और डेफिनेटली आई. ये ठीक दिवाली के दिन की बात है जब पूरा हिंदुस्तान दिवाली के दिनों से जगमगा रहा था और मुझे लोगों को 102 डिग्री का बुखार था. उसी टाइम मेरे पास इनपुट आता है रात को कि आपको कॉन्फ्रेंस में बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव लेवल में, बहुत बड़ा डिफिकल्ट है. उस टाइम मेरे ध्यान में जो व्यक्ति आया जिसको मैंने फोन किया वो थे डॉक्टर हरीश वर्मा. उनको मैंने फोन किया बॉस ये प्रॉब्लम है क्योंकि उनके जैसा प्रैक्टिकल एक्सपीरियंस आदमी मैंने मेरे रेलवे के चैप्टर में कहीं नहीं देखा. मैंने बॉस को फोन किया, मैंने कहा बॉस ये प्रॉब्लम है. बॉस ने कहा कॉन्फ्रेंस नहीं रुकेगी, शो मस्ट गो ऑन. किसी कंडीशन में नहीं रुकेगा, मैं सुबह आऊंगा और सब चीजें सेट कर दूंगा. डोंट वरी, यू टेक रेस्ट. उसके बाद में मैं निश्चित ऑफिस हो गया और लास्ट में मैं दुआ बोलना चाहूंगा तुलसी जी का. और वे हमारे दो राम हैं, पीसीएमडी साहब और एमडी साहब, और हम उनकी ऑर्गेनाइजिंग कमेटी तुलसी हैं. उसी कंटेस्ट में दुआ है. तुलसी भरोसे राम की निर्भय होके सोए, अनहोनी तो हो नहीं, होनी हो तो होए। Thank you very much. Now I hand over to Dr. Julian. Thank you.
आप लोग का कॉन्फ्रेंस को अमर बनाने के लिए डायरेक्ट यूट्यूब में इन्होंने लोड कर रहे हैं। ये आपको हर समय में मिलेगा पूरा प्रोसीडिंग। सर ने यूट्यूब में उसको लोड कर दिया। आप सबको नमस्ते करके बता दीजिए यूट्यूब में पूरा कॉन्फ्रेंस लोडेड है।
Thank you, sir. Especially thanks to Shri Prince sir for giving the right publicity on the YouTube for our conference and making it national as well as international. As the PCMT sir have very high numbers of contacts at international secretary platform, so this conference is also vast at the international level. Thank you.
We have one delegate who want to share her experience with us.
Good morning, everyone, respected seniors on the dais as well as down in the audience. I won't take much time. Most of you know me. I'm Dr. Jyotsna, CMS Mobile Division, Western Railway. मेरे ख्याल से मुझे दो ही चीजें कहनी है। सबसे पहले तो ये कि साइकियाट्रिस्ट की कॉन्फ्रेंस थी, लेकिन मुझे एक पल के लिए भी ऐसा नहीं लगा कि मैं यहाँ क्यों आई हूँ, because everything, all topics were relevant. As a general physician, as well as an administrator, we face many things, especially related to medical boards for people suffering from psychiatric illnesses. So everything was so useful. And in fact, I got a comment from your team also कि मैडम आप बहुत ध्यान से सारे लेक्चर सुन रही थे, क्योंकि मुझे बहुत यूजफुल लग रहे थे। And generally, like आज का जो टॉपिक था उसमें कम्युनिकेशन का वो था रोल। तो जनरली जो मैनेजमेंट कॉन्फ्रेंसेस होती हैं उसमें द टेक होम मैसेज इज कम्युनिकेशन, बट फ्रॉम दिस साइकियाट्रिक कॉन्फ्रेंस द टेक होम मैसेज फॉर मी एंड आई बिलीव फॉर ईच वन ऑफ अस इज डॉक्यूमेंटेशन also along with communication. And instead of saying anything for the conference, its arrangements and all, I think we all should give a standing ovation to the team. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone.
I'm sorry to interrupt, मैं बाकी आप सब रेलवे के हैं, तो नॉन रेलवेज के बिहार पर दो शब्द कहूँगा, केवल दो शब्द स्टैंडिंग ओवेशन के बाद में डॉक्टर सुनील मेरी साइकियाट्रिक सेंटर जो हमारा जयपुर का है, सबकी जो फीलिंग्स है वो मैं आपको कन्वे कर रहा हूँ। मैं माटोरिया को इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस दिल्ली में मिला था 4 साल 5 साल पहले, तब तक मैं माटोरिया को नहीं जानता था। वहां से मैं मिला, वी वर इन कॉन्टैक्ट। मैंने माटोरिया की जो डायनामिसिटी देखी, जिसके मैनेजरियल स्किल्स देखे, आउटस्टैंडिंग, सिंपली आउटस्टैंडिंग। और ये मेरे से एक बात शेयर कर रहा था कुछ महीने से कि सब साइंटिफिक, क्योंकि किसी भी कॉन्फ्रेंस का जो सोल है, जो स्पिरिट है, वो सारा साइंटिफिक सेशन ही होता है। इसको साइंटिफिक सेशन को लेके हमेशा से एक एप्रीहेंशन था कि क्योंकि इसमें मिक्सचर होगा डॉक्टर्स का, तो ये कैसे हो पाएगा। बट इसने जिस स्पिरिट के साथ, जिस लगन के साथ इसने डे एंड नाइट एक करके किया है, और जितना सर आपके फ्लैम्बोयंट शो है, हम जाते हैं सारी कॉन्फ्रेंस में जाते हैं, नेशनल इंटरनेशनल सब में जाते हैं। बिलीव मी, मैं कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि आपके सामने गया हूँ, मैंने ऐसी कॉन्फ्रेंस इतनी वेल ऑर्गेनाइज्ड नहीं देखी, और इसके लिए दे रियली नीड बिग राउंड ऑफ अप्लॉज। सर, मीना सर, माटोरिया, और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट आप सब लोग, क्योंकि बाकी की बात सही है कि जब वैलिडिटी होता है उससे पहले कोई नजर नहीं आता है, लेकिन यहाँ